Living for a living, baby. How you doing?
You hear me?
Mic check 1 2 1 2. Yep.
Hey,
What's
nice,
up,
bro.
Joey?
How you doing, bro?
Oh man, I'm doing good. Just well, shit, this is kind of bad lighting.
That's
I'm
all
doing
right.
good. Just get back, gym and shower.
Is it kind of normal life out there or what?
Yeah, life is yeah, it's pretty normal right now. I mean, everybody's kind of, I feel like, a little lax. I mean, you have to go in everywhere with the mask, but when it comes to like the daily routine of things, I mean, everything is like it's back to normal. But the only thing is the lack of tourism. It's big, so it's like a lot of shops have closed down, and especially where I'm staying at in Phuket, very highly tourist area. So like the main area, Patong, it's all like tumbleweeds going down the road, emptiness and stuff. You know, there's still stuff going on, but it's definitely like a lot of locals and stuff. But I feel we're kind of lucky because we stay in an area in Phuket called Rawai, southern part of Phuket, and there's a lot of expats live around here. So there's still kind of like a busy scene around here with the expats and people at the beach and a lot of Russians and other folks like that,
Okay, nice.
Australians and stuff. So yeah.
But the gym's open. That's like the biggest one for me right now. I'm cool with everything else being shut down, but let me at least go to the gym, you know?
Yeah, the gyms are open. That was like the big concern because Muay Thai, there's like a lot of people were coming out infected from the Muay Thai in April and May, but now it's like since there hasn't been any new cases for a few months, they say, all right, we're gonna open the gyms up. As soon as the gyms open up, they started letting people fight, you know, because Muay Thai is a pretty big thing. So they started
True.
at the beginning, it was just the fighters, the refs, and then the judges. And it was funny because when you watch the matches, the guys will come out in their little shields. It's like, all right, being extra protective, even though we got to take those off to fight anywhere because we can't fight with those things on. That'd be crazy. And they had the referee; he had to wear it too. And then, like as time went on, they downgraded just the mask, and everybody understands wear masks. But now everybody who's like, now they let anybody go into the matches, so it's like it's not packed in their elbow to elbow, but it's like starting to get more, and people are wearing a mask or wear them on their chin or whatever just to show they have it.
Yeah. That's how I've been with it. Like we have to in Czech Republic here. I think I can't understand the news. I don't watch any TV, so I don't really know what
so that's tough.
the rules even are. And so I heard we've supposed to be wearing the mask like out anywhere, and I'm just wearing it on the bus or like in the stores and stuff. But even then, like I'm letting my nose breathe. I'm getting I want to get a little fresh air, you know. And so it's crazy. But yeah, the no tourist, although that's kind of like a cool like vibe, like to switch it up. I'm sure. I don't know. I'm gonna ask how long you've been out there, but when I was in Barcelona for lockdown, it was the same kind of thing where that's a just tourist city, but during lockdown, it was just you knew everybody there lived there. Maybe they're expats or whatever, and it just had this kind of good vibe because tourists can kind of suck at times, even though I know I am one. And there was just like an added respect to everybody because it's like, okay, you're supposed to be here. Like maybe you're not from here, but you're here, and it's not
you're part of the community. So it's like a little bit more of added, like, oh, I've seen you in the grocery store a few times now. Like I can trust you a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I met this Italian dude like in the corner store buying beer, and he was like, "Hey, I saw you down on the beach working out, right?" And I was like, yeah, like that's kind of a crazy thing of like a city of 1 million or whatever to just randomly run into someone and make that kind of connection. So I enjoyed the switch up of that. But so you're in Phuket, that's how I say it.
Phuket.
Okay, yeah.
Phuket.
I know the phonetic way of English. You want to say almost fuck it, But how'd you get out
that's
there,
what people
bro?
do say. I remember when the first time it was kind of like a shot in the dark, really, because it was like me and my buddy. We wanted like, because I started like back in 2013. I had a little destination waiting for a buddy in Dominican Republic, and that was like my first time having to bring out the passport for me. I've always wanted to travel, but I've only been to Canada and Mexico growing up, and don't really consider those like too international, you know. So
Yeah.
so my friend, when he's getting married in Dominican, you know, I got out there. I was like, oh, sweet, the freedom to travel around, you know. And then went to other places, Japan and everything, and then Thailand was kind of like one of those places because I love like Muay Thai from movies like Ong Bak. I don't know if you've seen the movie Ong
Oh
Bak.
yeah, I'm that's way back in the day. Yeah, that's like I'm
Yeah,
not big into the kung fu, but that's like the one I know for sure.
that's the one, you know. Yeah. So that was like the big, like kind of like, oh, okay, what's going on over here? This Muay Thai looks pretty bad, you know, pretty sweet, you know. These guys are pretty rough, and I saw the, you know, the culture, the food. You know, we have a bunch of Thai restaurants in the States, and you always tried it out. I was like, this stuff's fire, you know. And then the ladies look good too. So I was like, yeah, we do some, me check it out at least. So my friend set up you know, this is during when I was still working in the school district. So we went during in April,
Okay.
and I had my buddy set it up. You know, it's like we kind of just shot in the dark where in Thailand to go. Never heard of Phuket until we actually got there. And when we got, well, I came by myself. Ended up coming by myself because my friend got sick. So I was like, oh snap! At last minute, okay, you're going by yourself. I was like, you know, oh well, I mean, I'm committed. I'm into
Yeah.
this. You know, I'm like, this is gonna be the furthest place I've ever gone in the world compared to, you know, from where I'm from. So I'm like, here we go. So we'll go out to Phuket. You know, felt very lucky to be there because it was a very good beach vibe. That very beautiful beaches here. You know, you can do like island tours, and then also during the time it was during their like New Year festival. It's like a big
Okay.
water festival called Songkran,
Okay.
and I had no idea what that was all about. But people were like, "Yeah, Songkran, you just, you know, everybody just goes on the street. You know, it's pretty much a big water gun fight. You know, everybody, they got the ties are funny. They just got these little Hawaiian like floral shirts, and they only wear them for this time. Songkran, you know, 3 days out of the year." And then everybody's just very festive and happy. And I'm like, oh, this happens. Does this happen like this all the time? What is this like? This is my first time here. This is like, oh, okay, I can do this. And so, yeah, that was my first experience. And then after that, I came back the very next year with another friend. Well, with somebody who came with me this time. So we had a great time and kind of added it up, been to other places. And then I was like, man, Thailand, I kind of want to go out there and, you know, try if I can stay like an extended stay. So
Yeah.
the first time I came out here was like for like a 20-day stay with a buddy. Got into it, and then it wasn't like easy, but it was just like something like, man, I can do it. I was like, I always thought myself like different culture, different country might be difficult, but once you're here, you figure things out for yourself. You're like, yeah, okay, I can do this. And then time went by, and then all of a sudden in 2018, I was like, you know what, I'm about to just make that move and just come out here. I got my English teaching certificate because I was like, what am I gonna do? I got to do something while I'm out here. So I got
Okay.
my
Yeah.
little
I was gonna ask
tussle.
what are you doing for a little bit of bread right now? And that's dude, that's you get that.
Yeah,
That's what my next step is, getting that English. I was just doing some like English conversation, kind of getting paid to do that out here, and it's like you finish it
yeah,
and you're like, oh my god, I'm just getting paid to have a conversation with somebody. This is lovely, you know. And
yeah.
it's fun to connect with people that way. So sorry, keep
Hmm.
going, man. No, that's crazy. That's awesome.
So I did that in the beginning. You know, when the first year, had a couple of people I tutored. Uh, this girl, then another young kid. I was just going, just, you know, like you said, having conversations with them, having them read to me, and I read back to them. You know, basic things like that. And then I kind of started thinking outside the box. I was like, man, I could probably, you know, start my own little business out here. I mean, I see they have a bunch of bars out here. It's a very great destination place for tourism and everything. And, you know, buying property out here is very affordable, or renting property is very affordable. So I was like, oh man. And then I started to meet other people who are living out here. And they're like, yeah, I got 2 houses, you know, work out half the year, make the money up during high season, and then chill back or go back to wherever they're from, and do something, you know, wherever their job is back at home, and then kind of go back and forth. Or they just stay, you know, year round, and just take that to get the money from like their pretty much an Airbnb setup, or
Okay.
they own a bar, or they own a bar. A lot of people have bars here, and that's kind of like a big thing here, and or whatever else. So I was like, okay, let me try this out, because I have a house in CD in Seattle that I do
Okay.
Airbnb, so get money off of that, and I try to do the same thing here, you know. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. I started my own business back in the States and brought it over here to Thailand,
And
and got licensed and
what's that
everything.
business?
It's pretty much just saying that renting property out,
Okay.
buying property, property, kind of like Airbnb kind of thing, but just putting a business name on top of it. So there's no
You're just
other.
not doing it through Airbnb essentially.
No. There's other outlets out here you can use,
Yep.
different sites and realtors or do it yourself.
Damn,
So
that's
it's kind of
cool.
just trying to keep myself out here as long as I can, and and just living.
Yeah,
You know.
dude, preaching to the choir. I was so excited to get you on, just from, you know, obviously at some point I'd like to hear about the Bellevue days, but also because I mean,
Oh
I
yeah,
was
yeah.
thinking to myself like, you're a couple years older than me, but I can remember
Hmm.
that De La Salle, that first De La Salle run's the loudest I ever heard any fucking crowd ever,
Oh
and
yeah,
so I was like,
yeah,
damn, to be able
yeah,
to, and then on top of it, another dude who is just living abroad in a place,
yeah.
it's ironic. I just posted the Thailand vlog today. I've been working
Yeah,
on
I saw that.
those
Yeah,
from a
I
couple
saw that.
years
It was
back,
nice.
and I haven't made
Hmm.
my way to Phuket yet. I was just in Bangkok and another little island, Kosi Chang or something like that. And
Okay.
but like Thailand to me is like, I I'm talking to a couple of my Thai homies like, yo, if you know of any property or houses that are going for sale. But now I'm just thinking, I was like, shit, I know another guy who I can really talk to, because talking to them sometimes
Yeah.
the translation gets lost a little bit. And so,
Mm.
man,
Oh
that's
yeah. Like I
that's
say.
interesting. Like what excites you about being there, or maybe excites you about not being in the States? Because that's what I always explain to people is, you know I don't know if I
Mhm.
like living in, I really enjoy living in Europe, but I also right now enjoy not being in the US and just having a different experience. So
Mhm.
how do you view that?
I definitely. I mean, it's different. I mean, growing up, it's from in Washington, Seattle, Washington, Bellevue, Washington. We're from there. We know that in and out, back of the hand.
Yeah.
I could walk from Issaquah all the way down to like Lakewood, Tacoma if I wanted to, because you just know you've been around there so much, you see everything, you've done it. And then I was fortunate enough, my dad played pro ball, so we got to see stuff within the country,
Okay.
doing little family trips and everything. So that was very fortunate to be able to do that growing up. But you kind of when you get in America, when you're in America, you get kind of like it's such a big country. You forget how big it is and how many people we have in our country that we get trapped on bubble because we have the Pacific Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean. It kind of like keeps us away from the benefits what European countries have or Asian countries have. They kind of have that. They're right next to each other, so they're far from each other, but you can still drive or get there. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
it's not like a huge distance. And then it's just the culture. I just wanted to see what the mindset was, what it felt like to have like be in a different culture, Asian culture, and like how they think and how they feel compared to like how we move and make money and all that. I mean, one of the big things out here, people are very appreciative of what they got. I mean, they're kind of like set in their role. They accept their role, whatever they're in. You know what I mean? Like the guys who go out there, cut the grass, take the trash out, or doing those hard labor jobs. They kind of just accept that role and just like, this is my life, and I'm gonna enjoy it.
Hmm.
Like I'm not gonna like look bring myself down and be like, shit. I mean, I see other people living a lot better. And that's and I'm trying to strive for that, and they're trying to push themselves too hard. Like in the States, I feel like we try too hard to live at this level of like I don't know what success looks like. So it's like
Yeah.
here, I feel very, especially in Thailand, it's a very humble country because they believe in Buddhism,
Hmm.
and I think with those beliefs, and then there are other superstition beliefs that they have, they're really like about karma and treating other people well. So taking care of their parents when they're older and stuff like that. So it's like, no, it's like okay. I mean, for us, like the girl I'm with right now, I just married a Thai girl. She's like, oh, I want our daughter when she grows up, I want her to, to let it, I want her to stay in the house as long as she can. And I'm like, what? No, in the States, you 18, you got to go. She's like, why you guys? She asked me like, why in America do you guys want to, if your parents say you could, why you guys want to leave the house so quickly? I'm like, honestly, I don't know. I think that's just how we're brought up. We're brought up 18, you got to go.
Yeah.
Like I mean, or we don't have to go, but we feel like we need to go.
Yeah,
You
the
know?
longer you stay at home, like the more you feel like you're not doing anything or
Yeah.
you're a loser, and like,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it's a blessing and a curse, because it's like, I think we as Americans get to kind of grow up a little faster sometimes, with that, like
Mm-hmm.
both of us. out on our own at 18. You know, I'm down in JUCO playing ball,
Yeah.
like completely on my own, moved out, you know, solo,
Yeah.
signing a lease, all that stuff. And then, you know, my Czech homies or my European homies out here still might be 25, 26 living with mom. And it's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so there's a different level, but then they kind of have a different connection with the family. And like, you can save money when you're living at home, you know, like
Yeah.
it
Big
allows
time.
you to kind of level up once you actually get to that next step rather than struggling at the bottom for so long.
Yeah, and really trying to just like you're living off ends meet and you're trying to live above your means kind of thing, you know, because you're trying to go out probably to the club and socialize, whatever, you know, everybody, you know, need that social life. So I mean that costs money. So for me here, I mean I'm cool, just, you know, living off of the Thai food, feel very lucky, but living off of that. And yeah, I mean the difference with the States, like I said, like it's just I think the cultural differences of what they hold important here and what we hold important in America, I feel like it's great and eye opening. The States, I feel like I just got lucky during the time of like all this Corvid stuff, and you know, I just felt like I was like, damn, I'm you know, because I came here 2 years right before it started to really you know, the hit. So I was like, well, I was like, good call. I was like, good call on me and you, man. We got out here just in time because I mean,
For
right
real.
now
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
pretty intense.
dude, yeah, I mean, just I'm sure you like this all. Just I enjoy like being able to view the picture of the US from outside of the frame because it's like
Heck yeah,
that gives you a little bit of perspective. You know, it's hard. Like I was just talking with
yeah,
Jason Gesser yesterday. It's like, you know, when you're in the game, when you're playing it, like, and I'm reading, you know, this side of the field, like
hmm
I don't know if he's wide open on that side because I only have one set of eyes. And but then if you're up
yeah,
in the nosebleeds, you can, you know, you hear the armchair quarterbacks, man, he's fucking wide open, you know, like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
obvious, but when you're down in when you're in the mix, you can't see it. And so like how do you
yeah. The trenches.
see, like from your perspective now, like how do you view what's going on in the States right now? Because it's always like this is always interesting for me.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's great because I get to look at all like the news, the local news channels, and how they talk about the states, and then the other news channels I get from other countries, and then kind of can see their opinion. And you know, everybody in the beginning, I mean, America was held at a high standard, but as time went on, with obviously with Donald Trump's presidency, they kind of saw that like, oh, they don't really. America's more looked at like, oh, they just only care about themselves or care about ourselves. You know, it's like they're only out for them. You know, they don't really care about the world no more. But and then, you know, I mean, and it just I mean, I mean, here in Thailand, they tell people they're like, oh, Americans, they're loud and crazy. I mean, they like to party hard, and you know, then we go in. I'm like, yeah, we do that, yeah. But I mean, they still like this, like, you know, like they're like when I tell in the beginning when I first came to Thailand, they're like, oh, where are you from? I'm like, America. They're like, oh, America. Oh, nice, nice. Now it's like, oh, where you from? From America. Oh, America. Ooh. So it's like from that 2 years since I've been here, that change has been it's wild. Because I was in the beginning, I was a celebrity. I was like, oh, America. Oh, yes, come. Now it's like America. Oh. How
Ooh,
long you
watch
stay
out.
here? You stay here for 2 years too? Okay. Yeah, I mean, you've been here.
You
So
got to, yeah, you got to get validated first.
yeah, I've been living here for going on 3 years now, man. Come on, man. Before I got here before COVID. Oh, okay. Yeah, so yeah, it's an eye-opening change, and that quick too, just that quick within those couple of years. That's how it is now. So, but everybody here, there, I mean, everybody's kind of on the same tip. Everybody's waiting for that, hoping for that vaccine to get in here because you know, Thailand they got their own social issues with their prime minister, and I don't know if you've seen all the protests that been going on in
I
Bangkok and
haven't,
stuff right
no.
now. So they
What's
just
that about?
so a lot of the Thai university students they're protesting almost pretty much every day. And down there's like a monument that's been built for democracy. So they go out there and protest because they're mad at the prime minister. They're saying because the prime minister of Thailand, he got into power during a military coup, and then they had an election, and obviously it was kind of rigged because he
Okay.
wanted. And then so a lot of the university kids they don't like him. They don't want him gone because he's been here for like over about 6 years now, no, 4, 5, 6 years, and he hasn't really brought anything to the table. and he's always made excuses. He's always been like, "Oh, well, how's it my problem?" They talk crazy out here to each other, so that he kind of says like rude things, and everybody's kind of fed up with that. And then other people are kind of like taking jabs. You're not supposed to talk bad about the monarchy, but people are kind of saying like, well, maybe the monarchy should give up some of their money because they got all the money. So they think they should drop a new constitution that says the monarchy has to give up some of their money, and they want the prime minister to step down so they can get somebody else in there. So they've been going out at about that's been going on for a few months now. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, whenever I talk to guys back in the States and family and stuff, and it's like, we Americans, and it's everything's positive, negative, but like we kind of think we're a bigger deal than we really are. Like
Oh
obviously
yeah. Big time.
everybody does kind of keep a slight tab on us compared to other countries. But at the end of the day, I tell everybody, I was like, yo, everywhere I've lived, for the most part, everywhere I've traveled, for the most part, everyone from those countries complains about their own government first. It's like
Oh yeah.
we like to think we're like special in a way, that our system or government's kind of messed up or flawed or whatever, or our president or whoever it may be. And it's like, yeah, that's true, but we're not the only ones. Like I think it's just human
Exactly.
nature in general, maybe American human nature, of like, you're going through a problem, any kind of, depression, anything in your mind, you're like, man, I'm the only one. Like no one understands me, this and that. And then you talk to somebody and it's like, oh, you're exactly the same as me, and so like that's the thing I try and explain to people is like, listen, like, yeah, things might be messed up, but unfortunately they're messed up like everywhere right now.
Heck yeah. I mean, you got all kinds of issues. I mean, you got especially me. I get a lot of international news, but there's one news, Al Jazeera. So they're talking a lot about Ethiopia, and they're having their little civil war fight with the northern region, Tigray. So you hear about that, and then everybody got problems around the world. It's just like you said, we ain't the only ones. We're not special in the sense like our problems are more problematic than other people's problems. You know what I mean? So it's like so. I think we just gotta stop going after our throats, and maybe we might get a little further.
For real, man. I mean, that's the thing, is the unity without conformity. Like we can think we're someone stupid, or we can not agree with somebody, but like, let's just keep it civil and keep a little love out there. Like I think some of my family's pretty stupid, for whatever their beliefs are. I still love those motherfuckers. It's like, that's what I'm going to change my love for you based on, one thing you think. It's like, I think that's our main issue right now in the States, is like the just quick judgment, and then the quick to cancel culture, write somebody off, that it could be someone that you've known your whole life, like family or friends, or you've seen me on Insta. I'm pretty vocal or brash with my opinions of what I think's going on at certain times, and like some homies that I still got love for, that either unfollow or whatever, and it's just like, all right, okay, I'm not gonna judge it, but it's kind of like, can't we all just kind of coexist with the maybe slightly different idea?
Yeah. People think that they're like, oh, you're conforming. I'm like, no, I'm trying to compromise. You're taking my compromise over, making that seem like it's conforming. I'm trying to find a middle. We're trying to find a middle ground. So, it's hard to make everybody happy. You can't. It's impossible. You can't make everybody happy. So, so we just gotta, accept our differences. And grow to love them. Like I said, like just because you say you like blue, and I'm like, fuck him, I like red. Like, come on, man. You don't have to go out there. You have to go after him so hard like that just because you like different colors, but it's cool. So, but yeah, I'm with you on that one, my man. I feel like, especially for me, I'm always looking for differing opinions and from me. I'm like, I think like this. I wonder if I'm like, if somebody can counter me. I want to see what they think. Because I mean, I know how I feel and how I think, or my opinions are not the end all to be all. I mean, like, there's so many people out here that have their own way of thinking. They might enlighten me. So I I definitely like to hear contrasts and things from how I feel, just to see,
For sure, yeah. It's like,
my mind.
I'm not gonna lie. Oh, sorry. What'd you say?
No, I was just saying, yeah, I'll take them out and, open my eyes and like, oh yeah, okay,
Yeah, yeah.
agree with
Like
that.
for me, like I, I'll admit I enjoy being right, but that's not like the end all. Like I would prefer the situation to be right rather than myself to be right. And like
Yeah, yeah, there you go. Yeah.
the what I don't know exactly what, but one of the biggest powers you can have is like to change your mind on something you feel passionately about.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah.
that's just getting lost because it's like some and there's like science to this, and I don't know the exact
Hmm.
terms, but there's like sometimes when you get presented opposite information, and it could be
Hmm.
like I could give somebody a chart, a graph, a pie, all these things, and it could all be factual, but just that counter will make them hunker down in their beliefs and whatever it is. And
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
really try and not do that, where like I said, I want to be right, don't get me wrong, but like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
at the same time, like you said, correct me, like challenge me, like
Yeah.
let's, if I
Teach
can
me,
change
learn
my
me.
mind, that's great.
Yeah. Learn me up something, teach me something. I love, I mean, I love to learn. It's definitely looking back in high school, middle school days. You're like, oh yeah, history and all this stuff's boring. But nowadays, I appreciate all the history because it's good. It's a great reference point. You got to learn from that stuff. So you don't gotta, you know, stay deep in the past, but you should learn from it. So we don't make those, mistakes in the future. So for people, like you said, people are sensitive though. They take it as like, oh, you talking, you saying I'm stupid. I'm like, nah, man, I'm just trying to show you a little something different. But
Yeah. Yeah, have
you gotta
have
be,
you picked
everybody.
up any Thai or anything? Are you being able? I know all I know is like soti krap and
Yeah.
that's all I know.
Couple
You,
crowd, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, well, I do to help my visa. I have an education visa out here, so I'm actually learning the language. I go
Okay.
like 3 times a week at this school. Yeah, it's not too far from here, so it's been about a year. Yeah, so yeah, I've been picking up. I got little phrases like if I get like thrown in the middle of like Bangkok and I'm lost, I can find my way. I can ask people for directions now and
Really?
get around and stuff. Like yeah, I can do like
Oh, that's awesome, man.
basic
Like
conversations and stuff.
how
Yeah.
have you, like, the only language now that I've picked up on in my travels and live in other places is Portuguese. And like I could say, you know, I could I could survive if I had to
Yeah,
only use my
yeah,
Portuguese. And it's like
yeah.
it's a cool, like, I don't know, it just opens your mind up, like, in just the way you see things and the way you hear things. And like now
Yeah, you
I'm
do.
I'm moving to Finland next week, and so
Oh yeah.
I'm on Duolingo, like going through Finnish, and I'm like, man, this language is so much different than anything I've ever been a part of.
Yeah.
But is Thai a tonal language like Chinese?
Yeah, it is.
It is.
Yeah, it's
Ooh,
tonal language. Yeah, have a high tone, mid tone, low tone. So you can say like the same word, like cow. Cow can mean rice. Cow can mean him, he, horn. But you have to have that little rising tone or a falling tone, and like there's
oh,
like little vowels. They call it like little tone marks. My egg, my toe. The little like two on top of some of the symbols, and
okay.
so yeah, you have to keep those in mind. But yeah, it's just you got to remember those. You just got to remember which ones have the tone marks. But in the class is cool because we also learn how to write. So I
Oh
think for
yeah, I was gonna
me,
say you have to learn how to write in Thai,
yeah,
right?
it's easier to read. It's easier to read Thai with when you know how to read their own letters compared to like reading it in a romanization of like English. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like if you see there's an area called Krabi in Thailand, and in English they spell it Krabi, but if they spell it in Thai language, it's more of a like a g, like a G sound, like grabby instead of crabby. It's like grabby.
Ah,
So like little things like that. So I was like, I kind of like, let me just stop looking at the English. Let me just now that I can read Thai, I kind of just try to focus on the Thai because that helps me pronounce the idea right a little better. I feel like,
that's
you
sick. And
know,
then having your girl, like that's gotta. I mean, there's that helps at all too, because I mean, what her family? How good is her family's English or whatever?
our family doesn't speak any English, so
Right.
yeah, so yeah, she speaks English. She's cool. She's okay at it, but yeah, they don't speak any English. So, and they speak another language, and they speak Isan because they're from Isan, Northeast Thailand. So like
Okay.
Isan's more of like it's like a language. It's since they border Northeast Isan and borders with Laos, more of a Lao language. So a lot of people speak
Ah.
Isan in that part of Thailand. So it's like I guess it's like speaking like if you're in we have English in the States and also we have Spanish, but it's more similar to like Creole, like English separate than Creole, I guess, if you're in Louisiana, because it's kind of like English, but it doesn't sound like it at all. So you have Thai people, not all Thai people know how to speak Isan, so
Okay.
it's kind of like, so yeah, they got their own little thing, but most of them speak Thai because Isan's more, it's like they're like, I guess you call it more backwoodsy compared to a
Gotcha.
lot of the other
Yeah.
parts, you know what I mean? It's more
So the
poor area.
comparison to Louisiana is kind of a good comparison.
Yeah, it's about right. It's about right. Without the bayou, they got all the farms and fields out there. So,
That's,
but yeah.
where else have you traveled? You said, have you been around Thailand quite a bit, or in Asia, or where all have you been?
Yeah. So I've been around inside of Thailand, traveled in Thailand, Chiang Rai, and other places. Krabi, I talked about. Then I've been to Japan, Korea for a little bit, and I had to stay in China for a night. That wasn't by plan. That wasn't planned, but that was like a layover that got like delayed, and I had to stay there for a day. So I stayed in like where was that, Shanghai for a little bit, and yeah, I mean, there's still like a lot of places I want to go, but yeah, Asians, Japan, South Korea, Thailand, Bali. We went to a couple years back.
Okay, nice.
Went to Bali. That was pretty cool. And then I've also been Jamaica and Dominican Republic. Like I said, from like the first time I traveled outside I had to use my passport, I guess.
Yeah.
So, haven't
Where's
been to Europe yet, though.
No, you haven't? Okay, well, man.
No, I want to.
You gotta come. I mean, like you said, Europe is cool because it's like, you can drive from the equivalent of like Seattle to Portland or Seattle to California, and you go through 3-4 different places, speaking 3-4 different languages with 3-4 completely different cultures, and it's like, it's similar to Asia. Although I don't know exactly, but some of the European countries are just so dang small that. It's weird but I mean, it's cool because it's like we can all again kind of coexist, and certain languages or you get into the Eastern European, like I was in Poland for a couple years, and Polish and Czech are similar, and so when I got here, like I knew the swear words and I knew a couple like little things where they're like, how do you know this stuff? And I'm like, man, it's kind of the same as Polish, like it's similar.
Yeah, you feel the similarities. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go.
I was gonna say, I still haven't been to like Cambodia, since it's right next to Thailand. I want to go there too.
Is that the top of your list for where you'd want to go next for Asia, or where's kind of where are you eyeing?
Yeah, because I mean, Cambodia is like right next door. I've been telling myself I've been wanting to go to Cambodia forever because they have Angkor Wat, that big ancient temple that's like part of the ancient their Khmer Empire that used to be around a long time ago, and they built like this crazy palace structure called Angkor Wat temple. I should say Angkor Wat. That's a very big tourist attraction. It's always, I'm a history buff too, so I've always wanted to just go out there and check it out. And, I think that'll be the next place I try to go to. Or I haven't really been thinking about going anywhere until like all this craziness comes. I'm cool where I'm at right now. Like we just got done coming back from Phi Phi Island, little island near off of Phuket. Because they have a lot of islands. Because in Phuket, we're a southern part of Thailand, and Phuket's an island in itself, but it's like has a bridge to connect to the mainland, so it's not that far off the mainland. But there's a whole bunch of different islands all throughout like the southern part of that area where we're at. And we got Phi Phi Island is famous because of the beach with Leonardo DiCaprio back in 2000. So everybody loves going there.
Okay, yeah, I've seen like some Instagram or YouTube stuff. Now I know exactly what you're talking about now. Yeah.
So Phi Phi Island is a big popular spot, and they got some other ones, Koh Samui, and all these other spots that are like islands that are just just right around, not too far. So we took a day trip to Phi Phi Island like 2 days ago. Just went out there, drove to the port, a little less than an hour speedboat ride, and got there. And it's beautiful, like because there's not a lot of tourists. There's only like Thai people who are touring their own area. So it's
right.
Got the whole beach to yourself. It's like it was pretty sweet. It was a great vibe because it was just like tourists would be nice to have it here, but to have the whole island, feel like you have the island to yourself like this. I was like, oh yeah, this is king of the island here. It's like stick my flag right here. Gotta pay taxes to me.
Yeah, no,
You know.
Asia to me, like that's been when I went to Nepal and Thailand 2 years ago now, and I was there. I was in Nepal for about like 4 weeks, 3, 4 weeks with one of my best friends now who I met while I was living in Lisbon, who's Nepalese. And then I went to Thailand for like a week before I flew back home. And ever since that trip, I was like, man, like if I'm gonna spend money on travel, like Asia's where I want to go, just because like the cultures of, just like you said, like there's like a respect and like people are enjoying life, even if maybe life isn't going perfect, and you know,
Yeah.
trying to enjoy it. And my biggest thing, like I just like when I smile at somebody and I get the smile reciprocated back to me, you know, like
Yeah,
that's just
exactly.
and out there in Thai and Nepal, like they like to smile, and that's just like such a, you know, it just makes the day go by better for me.
Warm welcoming me, like, yeah, I smell back. Yeah, yeah, oh, okay, yeah, yeah. This guy gets
What's the
it.
weather like out there right now? It's like, did it start monsoon season yet, or it's,
As finishing, it just got done finishing with
oh,
the
it just
monsoon
finished?
and
Okay,
rain. This time around, this in November, pretty much December, January, February, like supposed to be the high season months for tourism, and like where a lot of people make their make their money for the year. So it's kind of like don't have that this year because nobody's coming. So everybody's kind of like in neutral mode, kind of just seeing how much they can survive. A lot of people had to leave Phuket. A lot of people had to close down and shut shop because of the no business. So everybody that's here now is kind of like they kind of set up to where it's like they stick to the areas like where why still have people coming around here, and then pretty much just survival of the fittest out here. For who can last as long. If not, people have to go back to their hometown, home villages, wherever they came from. A lot of people are not from Phuket who are living out here, even Thai people.
oh, gotcha. Where's your
So
girlfriend? She's from the northeast area, like where?
yeah, she's from Isan. Her area is called Ubon Ratchathani,
Okay,
like near Cambodia border. Uh, so
and
that's why I heard. I'm sorry,
sorry.
go ahead.
No, you go for it. That's the one shitty thing about Zoom is like if we both kind of get going, then we both.
Yeah,
Yeah, no. So
yeah,
keep
yeah.
going. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying that she's up there, Ubon Ratchathani, that's where they speak Isan and all that stuff. So it's a big area. I haven't been there myself yet, but I plan on going here pretty soon here.
Cool,
Go check out
cool.
check out her hometown. She hasn't been back in a while too. So
So you see yourself out there pretty permanently, like that, or for the long haul, or like what's your mind
yeah,
frame with
yeah.
that?
Well, I'm getting this business. Once things get back to somewhat normal, when international travel's back and things, I really feel like Phuket's a nice, especially Hawaii. There, I mean, now it's a nice little hidden gem to kind of like do something simple and basic for anybody like real estate. I mean,
Okay,
very simple. You just as long as you get familiarize yourself with the area. Things out here are very affordable, buying houses and stuff. And as long as you know the rules, get your BOI, business license, and everything else sorted out, you can make it happen. So I'm kind of doing that. And then my next thing is, because I really want to set some roots in here, I will get my language right here for the Thai language. And then I think once I feel comfortable with that, then I'll work on even getting Thai citizenship. So I was like, shoot,
sick.
try that out. Because I know that's, people have done that around here once they live here long enough. So I was like, oh, I'm going to try to do get Thai
And what's
citizenship.
the process like with that? What all can you? And then once you get citizenship, you'll be able to get a Thai passport as well.
Yeah, yeah, you can get Thai
Okay,
passport and
I didn't
everything.
know because
So
I know Japan doesn't allow dual citizenship, but I didn't know if Thai did. So
yeah,
what's
Japan's strict. Yeah.
what's the process with that then?
You pretty much it's kind of similar to what you have to do getting American citizenship. You have to go through a couple tests. Have to know the national anthem. A few other things. And I don't think it's as hard as the American test. I think the big thing is you just got to pay the fee.
Okay.
I think it's like $1,000 or something bucks, and then
Okay.
yeah, they gotta like obviously show you know the language. But also I've also seen people that had Thai IDs without knowing the language. So I'm still trying to do some research on about that. I think it's some kind of special benefit if you got enough money, you can kind of like buy, pretty much just buy kind of thing. You know, there's
Money
a
makes
lot
the
of
world
those.
go round.
Yeah, especially in Thailand. They're like, oh, just pay a little extra to the table. Then, yeah, we get you right in the front of the line. They promote that big time out here. So it's like, all right, makes life easy. Might cost a little bit extra, but convenience. So,
Is
but
there like
I'm
a
a,
is there a living, like you have to be there for X amount of years before you can even like apply to this thing also?
yeah. There's like a limit. You have to be here for at least like 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
hmm
Yeah,
So
that's I mean, that's what I lucked out, and my grandfather was born in Ireland, and Ireland right
mm.
now is just kind of giving away citizenship. And so
Oh yeah.
this last year I got my Irish citizenship. Basically just had to send in his birth certificate and well his death certificate, my mom's birth certificate, like all these things, got it, and
Mm-hmm.
now I'm in the process of getting the passport. And it's
That's
like
nice.
that is like clutch. Just I mean, for for traveling purposes, like I can
hmm
legally stay here, legally work here, and
Yeah.
then also it's just a nice little insurance policy, with
You gotta
with
get
how
out of
things are
there. Yeah, get
going.
this stuff. Exactly. Yeah.
I've been
Yeah. That's
talking with like I just started looking into, 'cause Portugal's kind of like my favorite place that I've lived and played, and homies out there, and just the vibe culture.
hmm
I really got along good with it. And Portugal is unique because it's one of the few countries that has like a golden visa kind of thing, where if you
hmm
invest enough in real estate, or I'm pretty sure it's just real estate, then you can like automatically get citizenship. And
Oh
so
yeah.
yeah, and so my
That's,
pops is about to retire, and so I'm like, yo, like I already have citizenship, but I don't know what his plan is. And I'm like, yo, like
hmm
let's maybe like come bang, like I'm sure like Thailand, like the bang for your buck is like really
Yeah.
nice. And so you can get a spot by the
hmm
beach, or a little farm or something for
Yeah.
much cheaper than you could in California. And like,
hmm
and get that second citizenship, and let's see what we can do. So that's kind of
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
thing too. That's why I wanted to talk to you about it.
Yeah. Because I mean, I tried to tell my dad and my family the same thing. Like, you like, look, I came out here, for myself and everything. But now that you guys have a son or cousin family member all the way out here in Thailand, like, you guys come out here, take advantage, man. I help school you up. Come out here, you have some ideas, and like it doesn't have to be strictly in America, only America. I'm like, you come out here in Thailand, and we can bounce to a different country in Asia, go to China or whatever. You might get some idea, it might pop in your mind, like have a different feel, different way you want to live, because you get some ideas like, oh, this culture they live like this. Oh, you can live like that. That's okay. Oh yeah, you never know. Like, yeah, you forget that other stuff in the States. That's not the like we've been saying, it's not the end all to be all there. There's this whole world out here that you can your playground. Just find where do a little research. Where what's good for you, what's best for you, and then shoot, just get in where you fit in, man. Enjoy it.
Exactly. And Seattle to Bangkok isn't, I mean, it's a little bit of a flight, but it's not crazy. It take you a day to get
Nah,
there. It's not
take it
and
there,
there's
but yeah.
direct flights there. So it's like, that's not,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
it's not something like unheard of. It's not something out of the
Nah, it's
question
not.
completely.
Especially
What's
being
what's
in Washington and Northwest,
yeah, what's your
around
dad
the
up to
coast.
these days? Like, how's the family and everything with that? Like, what's he been doing? So, I mean, I know he retired a long time ago, but how's he
Yeah,
doing?
yeah. Oh, he's good. He's living down. He lives in Texas now,
Okay.
like Panero, Palero, something, someplace right near in Dallas. So he's been out there. He had a business for doing wholesaling gasoline, delivering gas, where he had his own company, and he had like a partnership with the Shell Corporation, and he had like pretty much had to help manage about like 12 different gas stations in the north in Washington.
Okay.
So he was doing that for a while, almost 10 years, and then he kind of just said he wanted to switch it up and move out to Texas. And
So how long ago did he
um,
move there?
he was there it's only been about a year.
Oh,
It's
okay. So
fairly
he's
new.
one of those,
Yeah,
like, because bro, I think the West Coast is about to get exodus. Like I think
yeah,
it's just gonna
yeah. It
be
is.
slowly either moving south or moving east, or well, maybe
Yeah.
not fully east, but that's what I keep saying is if I ever move back to the States, like either Texas or Florida or South Carolina, like and as a
Mm-hmm.
kind of hippie liberal, you know, Northwest dude. I always kind of like look down on the South for whatever reason. And
Yeah.
after I was living in Orlando for a bit, and like I haven't traveled at all. Only place in the U.S. I haven't been is the South. But the more I like get older, you know, going back to like changing our minds on something, the more I'm like, yo, I think the South has got something, you know, like there's something.
Yeah.
So, but he's
I
liking
like
it down there.
Louisiana. Yeah, he likes it out there. I mean, he's about to getting ready to get remarried and stuff out there. So he's all settled in, got a new house and stuff. So, and I think he's doing stuff in he likes real estate a lot. He had his real estate broker's license like back when I was in high school, and he kind of stopped doing it, but then he got back into it now again. So he's been doing it. But I tell him he's kind of late though. He's trying to like flip houses and stuff and like buy them for cheap and flip them. Like, look, I was like, I mean, you could do that in Texas, but you're like 5 years too late, kind of on the rush and everything. Everybody's been kind of doing that, but he's like, no, you can. I'm like, hey, do your thing, man. Do your thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you
let it rock.
you got the
let it
cash
rock.
for it. Like, yeah, you do your thing, man. But yeah, so he's doing that out there, just kind of doing that when he wants, and I think he's trying to just set up stuff to retire soon.
Okay, cool. How was it growing up with like him as a dad and like in the NFL and like that? Like that seems like a cool ass experience, you know?
Yeah. Because I mean, I looked up to him and playing football a lot, so it was cool watching him, and then seeing the guys in the locker room. I was always in the locker room with the team back when he played for the Jets, and then in Kansas City. Kansas City is more Jets. I remember a lot, but Kansas City, I was like in junior high, as middle school, so I can remember a lot of those times too. Meeting, that was when I met like Deion Sanders and stuff like that down in Arrowhead, and it was cool. I mean, we moved around. We had to move around a lot. Well, yeah, just going back and forth from like Seattle to New York, and living in New York when I was like in elementary, from like kindergarten to first grade, and then moving back and forth from Kansas City to Seattle, going to middle school in Kansas City, playing ball and all that stuff out there. So outside of that, but as a kid though, I was just didn't pay too much mind to it. I mean, sometimes I grew up wishing that I could stay like more settled in some of these neighborhoods growing up, because like when I went to Bellevue, I didn't know nobody. I didn't know anybody that when I went to Bellevue, and all these guys that I was getting to know and everything, it worked out great. That these guys already played sports from when they were elementary school. They grew up together.
Right.
And so I always kind of missed that when growing up. But I mean, I always had people and friends and stuff like that, but it was always kind of like limited time. And then I going back, either coming back to Seattle or moving back out there. So, but once I got to high school and everything, it got settled. So it was all good after that.
And what was I mean, did he retire? I mean, what made you settle then or go to Bellevue High School then? I mean, is he from that area? I don't know.
No, it was more of his idea of he's like, yeah, because he knows Bellevue was decent school, decent football program, football program. Like, because when I went to middle school, I was in a Renton school district.
Okay.
So I went to the school called McKnight. I don't know if you know McKnight.
I don't know. Where is that like? Is that more like Hazen side of Renton?
Yeah, Hazen side of Renton, exactly.
Gotcha.
So when I actually wanted to go to Hazen, because when I was in 8th grade, that's everybody who's in my 8th grade year at McKnight. That's where everybody was going. So it was another time of me getting separated from people I grew up with a little bit. I was kind of like, oh, I want to go to Hazen. They're like, nah, you don't want to go there. I guess I don't want to go there. So he's like, so when I grew up, it was either Eastside Catholic, because they came over. I remember them coming. I don't know when they came, but they came. Somebody had dropped a video. This is back in the day when highlight tapes were on VHS. So they had brought like a Eastside Catholic highlight tape of them, and I just remember watching it, and I was just like, oh, this is intense. This is the real deal. They got a recruiting video. I was like, so that was like my first little experience of like being like recruited, I guess, in a way, with Eastside Catholic. And yeah, that was fun. It was either them, Issaquah, because Issaquah, I lived in the neighborhood in Newcastle called Olympus.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So they run not too far from Cougar Mountain and all that. So I know all that area pretty well. So it's pretty much between Issaquah and Bellevue in the end when I was going to high school, because I could have went to Issaquah too, because I was in that same area.
Gotcha.
and then decided to go to Bellevue just because it was just, I think my dad, he just really wanted to go to Bellevue. He's like, you should just go to Bellevue. I was like, all right, go to Bellevue. So
Yeah, I mean, you had a all right
I think
little playing career
he
there.
like, I think he liked Butch a lot though. Butch was he liked him a lot. Butch Gottschalk. So
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that
No,
was a good
I
setup for him.
almost, my dad. It's funny, man. Like we almost moved my in between my freshman and sophomore year to go to Bellevue
Oh yeah.
because it just what was happening with coaching in Issaquah, it was just a shit show to be honest. Like it ended
Mm-hmm.
up kind of working out. We played in the state championship just my senior year, but
Nice. Yeah.
it was carried more by the team than or the guys rather than the coaching staff wasn't bad, but it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't a Butch Gonchar, like my dad, my
Yeah. Yeah.
mom grew up babysitting Butch. And
Oh wow.
so like we had that connection. I never like really knew him, but I can remember one day like going into the weight room like freshman year, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean like in January, February, and man, those boys were grinding in the weight room, for a high
Yeah.
school team. And I was like, whoa, I mean, probably harder workouts than when I was in college, like, and
Yeah. Yeah.
seeing
For
that
me
and was like,
too.
okay. And I knew I'd only get to throw the ball like 5 times a game, but it'd
Yeah.
probably be like
Yeah.
3 touchdowns. And then Butch's
And
reputation
you get
would
your
get me
money.
somewhere. But
Yeah.
ultimately, my mom didn't want to move. So that was,
Mm-hmm.
but that's, oh, interesting, bro. So you could have been Issaquah. That would have been crazy, actually.
Yeah. It could. Yeah. It was either Issaquah. I did. My dad was like, "You sure you don't want to go to Eastside Capital?" I was like, "Nah, man. I'm in private school. It's just I went to private school when I was like in 4th grade. We're going to I don't know if you heard of a school called Bush in Seattle. Bush
I haven't,
Elementary.
no.
It's just private school in the C, kind of in the CD. And I remember the first year I was there, I was like, but it's just private school. It's just like like not my cup of tea. Like
Right.
attitude and everything, being freely. You have to be yeah. Private school, I was like, nah, forget that. So I was like, nah, I'm trying to go back to a private school environment. So Bellevue it is, and then got to Bellevue, and then it was like you said, it was like going when I first walked into the gym and everything. All these guys, it was like a movie. I really like the movie Varsity Blues. So I kind of like always put my high school time with Varsity Blues standards. So I was remember going in there, the guys have to have the curve up. Who's the new guy? Oh, what's your name, JR? Oh, what's JR stand for? I'm like, oh yeah, it's James Ray, man. What's up? In the beginning, not liking anybody, but then when you play with them and everything, everybody turns out to be real cool and bond together and all that stuff. So
And when you went there, I mean, because Bellevue won like 10 out of 11 in a row, and your 4 years you guys won it every year, right?
yeah,
Or
from
had
2001
they won it
to
before you
2005.
got there, or were you guys the first?
No, they wanted it before me, but it was like years. It was like in like 1983 or something crazy
Okay.
like that.
But you were
Yeah.
the start of or you were there for like the start of the 10 out of the 11 or whatever, yeah?
Yeah. 2001 was my freshman year. That was the start with Gavin Smith, Johannes Carr, Jay Johnson, guys like that, and Brian Tapia.
Happy, I remember that
Guys
name,
like
yeah.
right there, yeah. Guys like Jeff Dix. Yeah, I could go on. Those guys. The first year it was good because we had like a lot of speed. Gavin Smith and Johannes Carr. Johannes was just like a little shifty, like little Barry Sanders kind of player. And then Gavin was good. Yeah, and then we were just Bellevue. We all accepted our role and our part, and that's kind of what they harped into us. It's like no one man's better than the team. Everybody shows up, everybody gets their lifts in. Kind of grinding that into us. It's kind of like Butch is like, all right, ultimately it's going to be on you guys. He put his like, look, I'm going to coach you and all that stuff, but it's going to be you on the field doing all this stuff. So you guys have to find leaders within your own group, take it upon yourself to hold each other accountable. And then, I mean, I guess fortunately for us, we had a lot of the guys at Bellevue. They're all very studious and good students at school. So it's kind of like they're taking care of their business here and they're checking up on everybody else. So we're very fortunate to have good upperclassmen that kind of like show the way. In a sense, we're kind of like in the middle of like developing this program with the weight room, being religious with the weight room. Like you said, when you first came in there, like, yeah, weight room was like on the off season, because we didn't really work out in the weight room too much during the season. But in the off season though, if you weren't in there, you're getting phone calls from Butch and like, what's up, man? Where were you? You're like, what do you mean? Butch, it's Christmas Eve. Like, yeah, no, we're in here, man. What are we talking about? Christmas is not till tomorrow. What are you talking about?
Yeah, we'll be done by nighttime. You can spend Christmas Eve with the family.
And it became that way. It became that thing. Like, it all starts with the weight room. It really did. It came in there. I remember we did all kinds of like things to keep each other in check. Like, who showed up the most, who during the off season showed up the most during the off season for workouts, and we had tallies, who was always there and everything like that. So, and then the other big thing that Bellevue, I think, helped bonded us was during our Fort Worden camp. We had a camp, we went out to Port Townsend and Fort Worden, and we had like 3 days of practices, for a week. During our senior year, there's one day we practiced 4 times a day because everybody's so paranoid about playing De La Salle, so we had kicked it up a notch and stuff. But I think those times, having those little getaways with, just us during that time was crucial and helped putting that glue together on our team.
For real. No, I mean, that was, I mean, those Bellevue teams, man, I still like in my mind of like creating program and like you said, a team, like that's, I'm out here QBOC and I'm trying to like get guys on that same page. And one of my main homies in high school was Jamal at the foul. And so like I'd heard all the, and who else? I mean, I wasn't like homies with them, but grew up like talking always with Cam Warren and some of those guys my age, just hearing the rumors or the stories of, practices going 5 hours or something, going late night but making it so like everybody was on their shit. Like that's one of those things like I carry forward in my mind, even though I never experienced it. It's like I'm almost like trying to replicate that. And you mentioned the De La Salle. I kind of talked about it earlier too. Like that's one of the things, like I said, bro, that was, let's see, what was that? 04 De La Salle?
Year,
yeah, 04. So I was 14. That would have been like my 8th grade year, bro. I swear to God, I can remember, like, I don't have a ton of memories from like games I was just at or whatever. But like I said, that, and I was excited to talk to you to tell you this, that first touchdown run of like 60 or 70, whatever it was, like, and the way the crowd, like, that's like the loudest I've ever been in like the energy at that game was so crazy. Like, what do you remember from that?
That game, I remember the run. I remember that run very clearly. I mean, I remember the whole game, really. I mean, there's like, it goes in and out. Like there's spots at the time where there's like, I don't remember some parts because you're in the moment, but I more so remember like the build up to the game. I remember like the build up, the hype, within our own, the team and everything. Because we were watching all these like old De La Salle games. We were watching when De La Salle had Maurice Jones-Drew and they're playing Long Beach Poly, and they had literally on the field on both sides of the ball, offense on De La Salle and defense on Long Beach Poly. There's 22 guys with all D1 offers. So we're watching these like elite high school players playing. We're just like, holy crap! Like this, we gotta play this kind of, So it's like this. We built this up so everybody was like very, very focused. Like from the guys who didn't even play that much, they're just like everybody was like all in. Like nobody had us winning. And everybody's like, oh, you guys are just gonna have these California guys come up here and just whoop on you just for all this, And I'm like, no, man, we'll show you guys. We're gonna show you guys. So I mean, the build up and the preparation, because the preparation was like on a whole nother level. Like when it comes to like watching film, studying all their tape and watching how they do like the double dive with their line, because we play, playing on both sides of the ball. My dad, he was the coach, the defensive coordinator during my time. So he had a lot of it turned out to be, he was like a great coaches of Washington, or great coaches I've ever, been with. Just, not a lot of guys can translate the game in a simplistic way for high school kids to understand, but he did it in a way where he turned these guys who had no business out there playing cornerback or DB, weighing $135 soaking wet, and they're out here jamming guys to the line, out here bailing out. I'm like, oh man. So we were like, so it was like couldn't appreciate it in the moment, but now looking back on it, I'm like, you're like, damn, this guy, so and so was out there soaking wet 135, but he was out there making plays. He's out there laying the wood. That's what I was like to see. I get hyped. So that identity, that culture, building up to De La Salle, then we're just like kind of went in like fucking mode, like we about to out here and show these guys what's up, getting hype. And I remember coming out to the stand, walking through on the field, seeing like a whole bunch of people that went to school with us come back, and everybody's at this game. I was shocked to see the first, when you first go out to the game, when you're playing, you warm up, you see there's like spotty how many people are in the stadium.
Yeah.
I didn't really know how many people are going to come out. So I was like, oh yeah, this is about right. I'm thinking like, we're stretching out here. It's like, this is about normal. This is about, I think, California, I was like, oh, I don't think they're going to travel that good, are they? And then we go in there to fully suit up. I come back out. I'm like, the whole lower part of the clink, the CenturyLink's filled up. I'm like, oh man, this is for real. I was like, oh, this is it, huh? This is how it's going down. I was like, okay. And then as soon as that ball got kicked, it was just kind of like tunnel vision kind of thing. And like, it's funny because I always try to look at the guys who I'm playing against, like to see who they are, like, because I knew some of them, we would call out their name and like, oh, come on, Lopez, just talk smack or whatever. But like some of those guys, it's like, they really look like they're all like Sith Lords. I couldn't even like see their eyes. They had the helmet on it. They had that just that darkness in their, I was like, man, these guys is like all kind of like stocky too, like little wrestlers. I'm like, oh yeah, this is gonna be something fun. And that first play when I scored a touchdown, I was like, because I think it comes back to our preparation of like just repeated repetition. Butch was always harping on repetition, and we ran that play. And I remember watching the film on it, and everybody on the offense who was on that field, everybody made their block. It's like everybody was on their block. Keith Rosenberg, he was the wingback at the time. He had to come over and he just cracked the outside linebacker for me to just go straight up the hose, just a big ass opening red gate, kind of Red Sea opening kind of thing. I was just like, oh, don't get caught, don't get hawked, that's the only thing. And get in the end zone. I still like, when I look at me when I score and I kind of like do this little thing, I'm like, oh, I hate why I do that. But it was like such like an in the moment kind of thing. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
I wanted to spike it, but you're in high school, you don't want to flag. And Butch was like, he was a stickler on like you scoring and trying to do any showboat in the end zone. So you have to be like kind of like smooth or cool with it, like not too overly, thing. So I was like kind of dropped the ball down to like this. And then when I watched the film, I'm like, I'm not happy with myself. I like the touchdown was nice, but the end zone, I was like, nah.
Isn't that funny how 20 years later it's still like, damn, I could have swagged it out a little bit better.
Yeah, I should have just took it. I was like, it was in the moment, it was the biggest game. I think Butch would have understood. I was like, I was a senior, I was this guy. So I was like, but it was all good. The hits though, I do remember the bang on some of those guys. I remember they're like I said, they're stocky guys. They're strong. They're pretty much just we mimicked our game after them. So it was like
exactly. I was gonna say, sorry to interrupt, but like I went to JUCO in the Bay, and the dude who started over me my gray shirt year was a De La Salle quarterback, and so and we ended up kind of being homies despite competing. And so there were a couple times I went to De La and worked out in their weight room, and it was like a Bellevue vibe over there, it really, really was. And so like, it was cool for me to kind of get, I just had that one day a sneak peek of Bellevue weight room, and then one day a sneak peek of De La, and seeing like, damn, those were like literally the giants of preparation. Because you guys had dudes, but it was the work. There was a lot of teams in Washington that had dudes, like it wasn't like we were underrated for the amount of athletes I think that the Northwest has, and it was the work that separated them.
Yeah, I was thinking, man, back like my probably like sophomore before senior year, Skyline had left the Kinko 3A, I believe,
right?
Because the last time I played Skyline was my junior year. And that was like a great, rivalry game with Skyline and Issaquah. And even Issaquah left eventually to 4A too in the years ago, I think during your time in school. So, but I feel like from 2001 to 2003, Kinko 3A within the state of Washington, we had some, there's people out there. I feel like that was a tough ass conference, boy. 3A Kinko, that was during those years because, Newport. Newport was no slouches there, especially when growing up when I was in middle school watching. It was always a banger with that when we played. And guys were hitting, Interlake back in the day was good. Late '90s, early 2000s. They had some guys. You know what I mean? And I'm outside. They got the country boys out there. They're in the North Bend area. So they're kind of good every now and then. I guess the only team that I would think that was probably out of place was probably Cedar Crest.
Cedar Crest, like Sammamish, it was Sammamish maybe, like those. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Sammamish was kind of good too in the early 2000s. I remember the coach, our line coach, he coached Sammamish. They went to the state championship.
Oh, really?
I think they played like Lakes or somebody in the championship before Skyline did.
Yeah, Lakes was always that team, like, because it was my junior year of high school. We lost to Lakes in like second round or whatever, and they had what Cavario, Jermaine. Oh yeah, that was Jermaine Curse's year.
Jermaine Curse,
yeah. They had like 3 or 4 dudes on offense go D1, and then and
they usually do every other year,
all playing both ways, but then when they ran into a Skyline or a Bellevue who had some dudes who could also knew
more
exactly
organized.
What they're doing, and it's just it's a different game.
Yeah, it is. I always like to play the guys that are out in the east of the mountains though too. Like we always end up playing like Linden twice in back-to-back years. I remember in the semifinals with Linden, and then my sophomore year was Columbia River. I like playing those. I like playing those guys every now and then. I don't like driving all the way out to play them, but I like come to me and play. Come to Tacoma, we can meet there. But yeah, I respect. You got to respect those guys in Pasco too. Those boys know how to play some good football.
Yeah, Pasco, Prosser. Those they were solid. That's so all 4 of your state champions. All of them were in the Tacoma Dome, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. That's my favorite place I've ever played.
That was before they changed the rule where they start to share like who gets for semifinals. Some of the times that you have to go east of the mountains, go play these guys, and then switch back whatever your ranking is, I guess. But yeah, so once you got to semifinals, it was semifinals and then championship.
No, those T-Dome games, man, were I still, it's funny, like, well, they're talking about high school ball, but at the same time, like those are some special times, man. Like, and like anybody who makes fun of it just never had the experience, so they don't really know what it's like. You just don't really understand, and like on the Bellevue, like Bellevue's gotten the shit for the recruiting and all that stuff, and I heard one of the assistant coaches just released a book or something. I haven't read it or anything, but like
Pat Jones,
what for me, like I said, I was gonna move and go there, and so like technically like I would have been under the recruiting umbrella or whatever, even though I didn't really get recruited, like how much of that shit is real in fact, in your opinion, or like real and just like people like with your dad was like, no, just like that's the good spot to go. And after they started winning, like people just wanted to go there. And so it wasn't like, and made it happen one way or another. And so what do you think about that? Cause you were like in it.
Yeah. I think it's more of like, they're just, especially people from Mercer Island, were very jealous of the success of Bellevue and Butch. And then people started to find out how much that these people were paying Butch just to be around and coach, and I mean, they're paying him like a couple of $100,000 and he's living in Medina, so they're like, hold on a sec. But I mean, how can you tell people? I mean, Bellevue is just one of those weird kind of scenarios where it's like a public high school within a very rich city, so you got these people who are super excited about Butch because he's out here getting these rich kids playing together, having, growing up in camaraderie, having a good experience with the high school, and they have potentially of going to getting looked at by universities. The parents are like, oh, so-and-so's getting looked at by this college? Oh, I didn't think he was that good at football, but, plays for you, he's good. So, and he was all in for everybody. Anybody else trying to go further, I think they were trying to play ball somewhere, else, he'd go all in and make those phone calls, like call up colleges and try to get them, get people to notice us or whoever who wants to try to play D1, D2, whatever level of football. But I think it started with that, a little bit of jealousy with that, but then there's some internal stuff going on, like right after I graduated, I mean, like you said, there's people coming and going like, oh, you should go to Bellevue, you know, coming from Lakewood or whatever. And people are like, oh, why is this guy coming all the way to Bellevue? I'm like, I mean, people, they're curious. They want to come see why they want to try to come get a glimpse. But there's a couple guys who are like a little older than me, like, because we had a lot of young coaches on our coaching staff when I was growing up and after I left, because people, you know, they play for Butch and they want to come back and help out.
Yeah.
So there's guys who are getting, you know, excited about always trying to get the team ready. They're always hear about like, oh, you hear about this kid out and so, you know, so there's always like talks like, you know, oh, you hear about that. But there's really, that I've seen, there was really no like, all right, we're going to drive to Tacoma Hilltop and we're going to go tell this kid to come play for us. There was really none of that kind of going on.
No.
But there was like, you know, people will come to, you know, like, oh, come to Bellevue and be like, oh, I'm coming here. Can I come? Like, yeah, come on, man. We'll show you around. You know, if you want to come play for us, like similar situation that happened with Miles Jack.
Right.
Plays in the league right now. Miles Jack, he came all the way from Bama because his mom had a new job for Microsoft in Washington. So he came up here, went to middle school here, then went to Bellevue freshman year, but then had to move back to Georgia for her work. But then he moved back again to Bellevue his junior, like leading into his junior year because she got her job back, I guess. And so got him back up here again, trained him. You know, he had to stay with the coach or somebody because his mom was still traveling. So there's like people saying like, oh, you hear about this Bellevue kid staying with the coach? So that kind of got rumors started to kick around because of that. And then this one situation happened where this kid, his dad wanted to borrow some money from a coach because he was like going through it, I guess, with his family or whatever. And this kid that played on Bellevue, he was a pretty good player. His dad, I guess, one coach at a lower level, like to help train the kids, he gave a couple $1,000 to the dad. And then the dad turned around and was like, oh, this went to the newspapers and was like, oh, this guy gave me money in Bellevue. And he kind of like snitched because he wanted to get his kid, because he was kind of mad at Bellevue because he wanted his kid to transfer to go to Florida to the IMF Academy.
Okay.
IMG Academy, like there's a big, big
IMG.
thing down there. IMG. So he wanted to go out there, and Butch was like, oh, you know, it's cool, but he's like, but he wanted like insurance, like, oh, if it doesn't work out, can my kid come back and, you know, he's like, maybe. I mean, I don't know. So Butch like, I can't give you like a solid answer. I mean, things happen, you know, but you guys, good luck to you. So I don't know. He felt some type of way, and then he the money that he borrowed from another coach, he went to the papers and said that people were giving that family's money or something, and that kind of like helped blow the lid off of everything. And then Tracy Ford, he had this is the beginning stages of his own Ford Sports place.
Yeah.
And he was trying to get trying to get the kids hype. And when you get the kids hype, you're out there like, get your fucking ass, blah, blah, blah. And then somebody recorded him doing that. And that kind of put another negative light on the program. So that got out and stuff. And then they started, they just started kind of nitpicking on everything that Bellevue did and everything. That people kind of just came to the assumption like these rich white guys are only good at football. Only they have to do something else different.
Yeah.
And it's not their hard work. We can't believe that. So they just kind of stuck to the thing like they were recruiting people, even though they can never come out with like actual names or kids who have been recruited to come to Bellevue, because almost everybody who was like a stud or did something at Bellevue, all from Bellevue anyway. You know, outside of maybe Miles Jack, who moved up here because of his mom, and then he even went to middle school around here before. So him, Buda Baker, EJ Savannah, myself, Matt, I mean, all the guys who are like, guys on the team who are like the main guys were all from Bellevue. So it's not like nobody can go out there trying to get more talent because we already had the talent that we needed. So, it blew up to one thing, led to another. It happened. I mean, people just couldn't accept the fact that that's how it went down. So it just kind of had to take the lumps on the chin for Butch. I felt that's the guy I obviously felt bad the most for, because he's doing it straight from his heart. I mean, obviously, they get him from his money, but he's out here for us, and he's really the best coach I ever had throughout my whole life. So I mean, he was in it for us. He just wanted us to be good and just wanted us to show us the way, like how it's supposed to be done. And I can honestly say that I have no idea. Butch has never gone recruiting or anything like that in my knowledge. So. So I felt bad, but it's one of those things on the road where people look back at Bellevue and I feel like we'll think differently. Like, well, actually, Bellevue, they help get Washington on the map on some aspects. So hopefully
Straight
you guys
up.
can be more appreciative. But
No, that's how I always viewed it. Was like I felt bad for Butch because, yeah, like you said, is I just heard from other guys like yourself and some of my buddies was like he cared about you. You know, he wanted you to continue on and, you know, really put his neck out for guys, and then to get just kind of the name dragged through the mud. And now, as you're saying it, it was almost like that was almost like the beginning of like, and it's not exactly related, but beginning of like the cancel culture that we have now so much. And, you know,
oh
of
yeah,
like
yeah,
a
yeah, for sure.
weird jealousy, you know, and because
Yeah.
I mean, motherfuckers were jealous of Bellevue, you know, and
Yeah.
I never, I think that the people that really were true competitors is like, bro, we want that. Like you said, like it put
Yeah.
us on the map, like Washington football after beating De La, and then what, they play Katy,
Yeah.
and then they beat, I mean, they beat
Yeah, it beat a
everybody
couple
they
of
played
schools.
pretty
Yeah,
much,
yeah.
you know.
Long
And
Beach Poly was next the year after.
yeah,
We beat them
that's
too.
right, you know, I mean,
Long Beach
and it was,
Poly.
oh no, you can't beat these guys, and I mean, it really put them on the map. And so I was always proud because it was like I could say, you know, whenever I was traveling, or I mean, not traveling, but whenever I went to JUCO, and I played at North Dakota and wherever, and people would say like, oh, you know, wherever my high school from, we have one of the top teams or whatever, and I'd be like,
Oh yeah, you always thought, yeah, so
who's
small.
that? And they'd be like, oh,
Yeah.
so, you know, I had a homie from Texas or, you know, California, and I'd be like, oh, he's like, yeah, Poly's the best, or, you know, De La or whatever. I'd be like, oh, you know, a team from Washington smacked their ass, right?
Smacked them,
Like,
exactly.
I
Oh
used
yeah.
it as bragging rights because it was like
Oh yeah.
the homies next door. And so it was,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like you said, but now that it just made me register, is like that was kind of the intro to this weird little like,
Council culture
it
kind of
starts
thing.
with a jealousy kind of feeling,
Mm-hmm.
and it turns into like, since I can't do it, or I don't like that you're doing it, like we want to stop you from doing it. And
Yeah.
that's
They
been
can't
my,
They can't wrap their head around it. They can't comprehend like, oh, these guys are really do that. I can't accept that. Like, oh,
yeah,
I don't believe it. It's like that's
no,
cognitive dissonance. It's like you get the facts out there, but you're still not trying to believe them, bro.
exactly. And it's like it's true. The team that works the hardest normally wins. And that's how football is. You know, that's just
And
how
that's the
it
beauty
is.
of the game. That's the beauty of the game. You know, you're only as good as your weakest link. That was a big saying. I'm sure you heard it a lot. You know, playing football. It's like you're only as strong as your weakest link. And we make sure all the guys who are, you know, that's another thing Butch did. He's like, if these guys were like third on the depth chart and not put in the work, the same amount of work as the guys as the starters, then, you know, we're not really a fully developed team. So yeah, man. I mean, it's so much time and process and work that goes into being that good. You know, be like you said, being in the weight room and watching the film and getting in trouble because, you know, you even watch your film after practice, you tired, you be out here dozing off like, Pacey, stand up, Pacey. Like, shit, I gotta stand up. You know, like that, little things like that. You know. So, but you know, Washington is football, and Washington's where it's at now. Like the whole situation with Bellevue right now is all crap right now because the administration and the local mayors or whatever council people didn't stand up for Bush at all, and they just kind of just accepted to throw him under the bus, and that's why the assistant coach Jones, who has that book,
Okay.
you know, he's trying. I guess it's gonna be like a 2-part, 3-part book or something like that. And he's been going around calling people, getting there, you know, trying to interview them. He called my dad up, trying to get his, you know, get his to write a little prologue or something like that for the book. And so he's trying to, because he was devastated by the whole situation because he's like, him and Butch were like, you know, like this, and because he's the O-line coach. And yeah, he felt bad about the whole situation. You know, he had to feed one of his best players that he coached, one of my good friends, Connor, he kind of threw him under the bus, and they kind of had a falling out because of the whole situation and everything. So I think he still feels, you know, bad about that. So I'm happy that he's got the book out. You know, I know he's been itching to get something, you know, get his say out there, to fully get his piece out there, because he was on the coaching staff when Bellevue High School won the first championship in '83.
Oh wow.
So it's like he's really a Bellevue guy. I mean, he coached at Salle and helped get them good too, because he's a coach. Sean, he's a little. he's a little different about things, but he's still a great coach. So he's a true Bellevue Wolverine diehard. So I know how happy he is about getting his book out. I mean, I'm gonna read it eventually. I haven't had a chance. I mean, I know it's on Amazon or whatever right now, but I don't know. I haven't got a chance to read it because I was like, shit, I was living that shit. So
Yeah, I was
know
gonna
all the
say
details.
exactly. I know. I'm more curious. Like I was gonna say, you don't. I mean, like you were
Yeah,
in it.
but it's one of those things where I want to make sure he's like saying what he make sure make sure he's getting these facts down or these historical events down right. So
True. Yeah,
so
yeah.
but I
I'm gonna have to check it out myself also because it's like as you can tell, like I'm curious about it. I even though I never really was connected, I had a appreciation for it or whatever. It was one other thing I kind of was curious about is just like I know probably your college career didn't go exactly how you probably wanted it, and what was like how do you reflect on the college career and everything, how that went, like now that we're pretty 10 years removed from it?
I mean, college it was good. The first year was great. I mean, going in there, I thought I was gonna play my first year, but they decided to redshirt me. But I thought they should have played. But it was just kind of one of those things where I didn't mesh well with the coaching Willingham, or I think the rookie or the young mistake I did was I committed to UW, but then he didn't have his full coaching staff together. Like he didn't even have a running backs coach at the time, which
Okay.
is a mistake because the running backs coach that eventually came, me and him didn't get along, and he was not really. He was just the coaching at UW was coming from a place like Bellevue, how what we set up with Butch and everything, that that culture and like the mentality like that. And I guess we set at such a high bar for myself. And then when I got to UW, UW was in the middle of a changing period because they just got done firing. I forgot the guy's name. Rick Neuheisel wasn't Rick
Neuheisel, yep.
Neuheisel. It wasn't Rick. It was Rick Neuheisel who got fired because he was betting on college basketball. And then this other guy came in that was there for like 2 years. He was bad. And then Tyrone Willingham was like the big get, and they
From Notre Dame or whatever.
For Notre Dame, but nobody was really liking him from Notre Dame when he was leaving. And he had a couple good years at Stanford. That's why I think he helped boost his resume. He had 10 win seasons there. He got to Notre Dame, and obviously, if anything that touches that's Notre Dame, oh my God, Notre Dame.
Exactly.
So he had that super hype around him. But yeah, I mean, I think I just probably it was either UW or Penn State. I mean, I still to this day always remember when Joe Paterno came over into my house with his son, and they sat there in my living room and was just like, he's like, you play good football, I couldn't, you come out there. I was like, it's one of those like movies, like mafia movies. It's like, I got this guy, he's like Godfather football in my house, bro. He's out here, I gotta kiss his rings or something. What do I gotta do? So it was like this is one of those continuations where I felt like like a movie. I had this legend, and he's like, where I was about to show him my highlight tape from football. He's like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm gonna show you the highlight tape I had, this year. He's like, son, I've seen everything I need to see. I came all the way out here for you. I'm gonna come out here to watch your highlight tape, what I already know. So I was like, damn, Joe Paterno got love for me like that. It's just crazy. So I always remember that. And then I don't regret anything I do or did growing up. I mean, I made my mistakes. I was young, did my thing, but if I could go back, I definitely should have just said, just go Penn State and just took that experience. I was still young though. I was kind of had the idea of like hometown hero, bringing, UW is still like a pretty prestigious school, football and university wise. It's like can't go. I mean, it's almost like I couldn't go wrong with going to University of Washington anyway. But yeah, it was great. I mean, I still happy. I mean, got to UW first year, got Scout Player of the Year during that time. Going against a first team defense, they liked how I was running, and that's when they're on the verge of letting me play against UCLA and trying to travel. And I was like, oh shit, I get to travel, and it was a big deal. That was a pretty good experience going down to Rose Bowl, seeing the Rose Bowl and all that in Pasadena.
So the main decision between like UW versus Penn State, like you were just, like to stay, kind of just keep the hype in a way going kind of was on
Yeah,
your mind? Because I mean, dude, it was like that scenery. I mean, everybody in Washington knew who you know. I mean, like that was
yeah,
Bellevue,
yeah,
and I mean, it was like your name and Bellevue were like interchangeable almost. You know, it was
yeah,
crazy.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But,
Yeah, and just wanted to keep the, it was like one of those, those moments where I was just like, yeah, I'm trying to, bring the glory back to the Northwest. We kind of
yeah,
already did it with De La Salle and everything. I can still do it. I felt confident in myself and my ability to play ball. And I was like, there's like, there's like the one thing I didn't have. Yeah. And I was like, I knew I could play. And then when I got to UW, there's also playing with the, D1 guys. There was a time where I was like, shit, these boys out here big and fast. I was like, can I hang? Can I hang? Especially during camp time. When camp comes around, you finally get the pads out, you're playing, then you kind of get comfortable. Then you kind of, become a football. You play the game. You just play football.
right.
And you let you do yourself and whatever, you try to win. That's all you got to do. So that's what I did. And then a lot of guys kind of respected me. So I always felt like, even though I never really only played like a few downs in UW, but I always got a lot of people gave me a lot of respect with on the team because they played with me every day in practice and they saw what's up. And during the time with Willingham was just a weird time of having him there, where everybody thinking he's gonna be like there forever, but then he's like 0-12. He got to go. He can't be not winning no games at UW, University of Washington. So, but it kind of it was cool going in there because. And then he started I knew things were going to be a little different, like in a traditional sense of like you go to university, because he was still like in the process of firing the current staff that was there,
Okay.
like Steve Ittman. I was still to this day, I was like, how do you fire Steve Ittman, bro? That's like the living legend of UW. And he's out there training guys, he was the strength and conditioning coach when I was like, when I got to UW. And, he was just obviously a legendary person. And he was just like, you know, Steve Ittman is just like kind of starstruck, and then he's like, "Oh shoot, this is my coach too now, so I got to listen to him. He's serious." So, but it was cool because it was like he's one of the guys, and he had his own team of guys with him that they're very relatable guys. But then Willingham just said, "Got to go." He went to bring in his own staff, all brand new. So he got rid of him after it's like he got rid of him. But the weird thing was like we trained with Steve Ittman and his staff until it came to camp time. So right before camp, then they all had to go. So it was like we bonded during that summer of like coming into this season with these guys, and then all of a sudden they had to go and they brought in these other guys from Morgan
Weird.
State. And yeah, so it wasn't like it was always kind of like felt weird. Like it was definitely always felt off a little bit for me. And then yeah.
Was there like much distraction? Like, do you feel like was there any um like being the hometown guy, do you feel like there was more distraction and like pressure to live up to something that you felt at the time?
It was more distraction in the sense of like going out and partying.
Yeah.
Everybody knew you, so you got to go. I got to get access to everything, so that was a distraction. But pressure was not a problem. Pressure was part of life in the game. I feel like
Yeah.
I've always kind of played well or done well with pressure or anything. And that sometimes is now that I'm an adult and everything. It was definitely a lot of added unnecessary pressure on myself
Mm-hmm.
as a young person. Doing things better or preparing myself more. Could have set myself up without the added pressure, made life easier for myself. But that was just part of the growing pains of you being in college and figuring everything out on your own and all that, and that's in that way. So it was learning. I mean, like I said, like didn't appreciate school, like high school stuff. College, it was during the time where it's like, oh, okay, I'm learning some stuff that I get to pick, and it really started to hit home all this time. So I was like, okay, it's good. So the university aspect of Washington was always great experience, learning and doing all that stuff. So got that, sociology degree and everything like that. So, but yeah, there's those times where distractions and stuff on myself, partying a little bit too much, staying a little bit more focused. That definitely got in the way out with the kind of headbutting with some of the coaches. Well, not headbutting, it was just
Not seeing eye to eye and just
not
being
seeing
on.
eye to eye, and yeah, they weren't on the same kind of mentality as like they wanted everybody to be robotic and structured on military style. Like there was no. he made all the Polynesians have to cut their hair off and all that stuff like that. And it's like, even and I was like, damn, and they were going on. I was like, you guys got to do this. That's your culture.
Damn.
They pay me to go to school. What do you want me to do? I got to show my
True.
scholarship, bro.
Yeah.
So, I mean, University of Washington, I feel like growing up in the 90s and watching them, there's always personality out there. I mean, I
Right.
feel like all the good teams, great teams have some type of personality. You got to have some character out there. It can't be just robotic. Can't be a robot playing out there. And I think that's what strained the team overall, because we had talent on the team. There's guys on the team. Isaiah Stadback was out there. He was nice. Kenny
That's
James,
right.
he was running back. Was freaking. We had our O line was solid. We had some boys. Our O line averaged like 6'5", bro, across the board. These boys are huge. I remember, we had guys. We just the plays and the strategy, how we play the game. Always we like get in the lead and then we lose. I remember, we went to Hawaii. I think it was like my redshirt sophomore year. That's the last game of the season. We went up 21 donut on Hawaii in the first half. Came back, ended up still losing to Hawaii in the second. We still lost. I was like, how did we lose?
Damn.
Come on, man. Like, what are we doing? So and Willingham, he knew football, but he didn't know like the game of inches, and he didn't know the game. He had no business going to the defensive side of the field to try to coach anybody on defense. But he was just over there. But he stayed mainly on offensive side and practicing little golf swings. I always remember him doing that little shit up there in my field. And
Yeah, it's interesting to hear you say that, like, they were kind of robotic and that, because it's like, you know, there's almost like this idea in my mind with like Bellevue, you know, and down, set, and everyone like, you know, that's almost, but you guys still had that like passion and
Butch let us come out here.
together.
We were coming out here saying, you know, Trey, I remember my junior year, that was probably the most active times walking out to the field. We were out here saying like, we're the bad guys, and we're like and walking up down the sidelines, you know, just, you know, walking through guys' stretches and stuff like that, you know, it's just, and he let us do that because I was just like, that's what we identified ourselves that year as a football team, you know. And he kind of just like, hey, we're winning, just roll with it.
Yeah.
Willingham, he kind of was always kind of like, you know, he was like, if he had like all the pieces on the table, he was really trying to, you know, manufacture what he thought was a good student and a good football player. It's like asking guys. I remember he asked me, I think it was him or somebody else, it's like, what do you want to do? Like, what's your goals in the next like years? I'm like, well, first I'm trying to get on this field and play. Second, I'm trying to get over 1,000 yards. He's like, no, we're talking about life. He's like, what do you mean about life? You're out here. I don't need another daddy, bro. I got a daddy.
Yeah.
I don't need you out here trying to bother me up or nothing. I mean, I'm sure you probably had to deal with that with some guys, but I'm not the guy. And I think that was the big thing for me. Like, they couldn't differentiate us from our personalities. It was always kind of like there's one line across the board, and you got to hop on that. You got to hop on that train, you know. So
interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy too now that I think about it, because, you know, I ended up transferring from University of North Dakota after starting there for a little bit, 1 year. And, you know, I look back on my experience and I'm like, damn, you know, like 21 years old, like the amount of true responsibility you needed to have to be in, you know, to be in that position where, like, you know, now at 30, I'm like, damn, I wish I could go back to college, you know, being the leader. I was a good leader, but, you know, I like to have fun. I like, you know, like, I like to, you know, like, football was my love and my priority, but like, there's still girls and parties and this, and, you know, maybe like not watching as much film as I need, you know, like I look back on like, like I could have probably done some more, but at the same time, it's like, damn, I was 20, you know, I was 21. Like it wasn't, and then on top of that, similar to you, was like, it was a very robotic, like it was our way or the highway. If you know, you asked a question, which like it got interpreted as you being like talking back, you know, and
how dare you ask that?
I just wanted to know, you know, like you, I'm sure, like, it sounds like I like to know the why, you know. I'm not trying
exactly.
I'm not trying to say we're doing it wrong or I think this is stupid. So the way my brain works, like, tell me the why, and then that way I'm really on board, you know. And it was like, when someone would ask the why, which it was normally always out of the out of area guys, not the upper Midwest dudes who would ask questions. It like, you just kind of got looked at as like a problem. And it was like, no, like this is just how we've been coached and grown up. But there was, like you said, just kind of not the understanding of like individuality. And, you know, that, man, that's all it is, right? You know, maybe football now is almost going too much of individuality where like we got to reel it back, but it's all about the cycles and everything. And so, you know, I feel you on that, where it's just, it's tough to, and I coached back at my alma mater at D2, which, you know, even small time football, but then, dude, it's scary to think too, like these grownups are putting their livelihoods in, again, 18 to 22-year-olds' hands. And, you know, like it's tough on all ends. But at the same time, as I look at it now, like the coaches in theory are the adults. They need to be the ones who can adapt and have somewhat more responsibility for changing things and being able to see things than the 20-year-old. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But when you get to that, even D2 level, because these guys, coaches are getting paid.
Exactly.
They get paid 5-6 figures. So now it's more of I'm trying to keep my job more than I care about these young men. You know what I mean? They can sacrifice a couple guys and make sure they keep their job, give them their 6 figures, especially at the D1 level. I mean, there's guys coming in, players, guys, you know, they just didn't pan out. You know, they might have recruited them then, you know, so that's kind of like, oh, they're trying to put them to the side and not put their name on that kid no more. You know, it's kind of, you know, little football politics, shady politics there. So, you know, it comes down to it's a job, and then they treat it like that. And at the UW, it got heated towards the end of my career there, because that was like during the time when right before they went 0-12, and you kind of feel in the air like the pressure on the coaches more so the players. The players like, man, I'm trying to play, I'm trying to win.
Yeah.
Guys, you can hear it in the voices of the coaches when we're on the field, like when they're yelling, like, "Get your ass over there! I told you this is so you're supposed to trap block around here." Like, calm down. First of all, it's like, you know, like I know you know, it's a demanding sport, but it's like, bro, you're screaming at the top of your lungs at this guy because he took the wrong angle. Like, you know, like, chill, relax, bro. It's like, you know, you're not the one out here. I mean, I know it feels like you're out here playing because you're the one getting paid and everything. And it's your job, but shit, bro, it's like, you're not here on the field. But that's when it started to feel like, for me, when it started to feel like that, like towards the end of my first year, it felt like that. Because I mean, the first year our record wasn't that good, and we think we won, like, might have been like 500 or something. But yeah, it's just, you can feel the pressure on the coaches more so the players trying to get things done, and then they obviously it trickles down to the players, and you can feel it in the players, and people get anxiety. I've seen guys in the film room cry because the coach is grilling them. I was like, damn, I've never seen nobody tear up in the freaking film room.
Damn, like
Before
that.
At the D1, this is D1 University. You guys here too, coach, man. You know, strive. You know, it's like, shit, bro. Fuck this coach, man. What do you mean, bro? Like, he's getting paid here. We ain't getting paid.
Yeah.
You can walk out. This is, you know, man. Like, when it comes to university, like, we're university students. I mean, technically, they pay for us, but university students pay for these professors that teach them. And it's like, they, you know, gotta make them work for you. You know what I mean? But it wasn't that kind of ball. It wasn't that kind of situation. The coaches had all the power, and that was during the year. Also, to add into another little, keep in mind, like, before 2004, 2005, scholarships were full for all 4 years. Now, like, during the time, guaranteed. But now, then, right when I got there, it was a year-by-year basis. So even more politics were involved, and you can shuffle around, and, you know, guys have to really think about their futures, because they're like, oh, this coach, he might not sign me again next year. You know, I might not get rid of my scholarship. So that was another added little.
And that's something the casual fan just doesn't get. You know, like it is, you know, like it is such a, I mean, high pressure business and high stakes and financial and all those things. And then your couple, like, again, 18-year-old, 19, 20-year-old kids who got to take care of business in the class, weight room, constantly getting bitched at, all this stuff, playing in front of whatever. I had they hated me in North Dakota. You go on like the forum websites, they were just talking shit about me constantly. And I mean, I'm 20
Why?
years old, like kind of laughing at it,
So
but
they just
obviously it fucked with me, you know, like
yeah, a little bit it has to. I mean, sure, especially at that level because then it starts more. It's big. It's not your local high school paper. It's freaking. It's in the it's in the state. It's in the city paper.
yeah. And
You
you know,
know.
these grown men kind of talking crap about me, and then having to
Right.
think in your head like, yo, if I don't take care of business, then
Mhm.
when summer rolls around, coach can say, hey man, we're not gonna go with you again for this next season. And you know, that ended up happening to one of my good buddies who was like the third string quarterback. And like I think
Mhm.
he was there for 2 or 3 years, and then he just kind of never really panned out. And um you know, just that going into I think like his junior year or something, redshirt junior year, they said, hey man, like we're not going to give you the scholarship for this year. And so you could stay on
Yeah.
if you want. And I mean, you know, they
Yeah.
kind of like
But you got to pay
screwed you.
for it.
He ended up staying there because he had a life. You know, he had a life there. I think he had a girl there. You know, it was like he wasn't. And
Mhm.
so they kind of just got him for free then. And it's like, man, it's unfortunate that there's some of that shady shit that goes on. And I get it because it is such a business, but at the same time as like we
Yeah. Yeah.
bring it full circle, like we got to just when you treat each other like humans and like do the right thing, like maybe you're not gonna get the best player, but it's gonna work out better in the long run, and you're gonna feel better about it in the long run. Because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's tough. And so how then? What was the thought process with like Central and then like going there? Because then you know, like I like always hearing these stories. I went D2 after FCS. You know, I wasn't at FBS, but
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
you know, so I always like hearing these like stories, kind of.
Central is kind of the thing. My dad went to Central when he was like,
Ah, oh,
he
okay.
went to so my dad when he first came out of high school, went to Central University before he ended up transferring him to Wazoo and getting a scholarship to play at Wazoo.
Ah,
So yeah, that's kind of the connection for me. So he told me about the coach at the time. He was looking, and I want to, and being at UW, I mean, I got minimal snaps, which was one of the most frustrating things in going there. There's just like, you know, not being able to play. And I just want just to play the game, just want to play. So I
right.
could, you know, I'm tired of practice. I mean, Allen Iverson, we're talking about practice, you know. So Central is one. I could have Illinois, fighting Illini. They wanted me to come over there, but would have had to sit out a year because of the D1 transfer rules and all that BS. So I was like, nah, let me just go Central and just play right away. So that's what I ended up doing. So go down there and play right away. First 3 games was good getting back, and then kind of tore some ligaments in the ankle. Kind of had to sit out. Well, I played the rest of the season, but I was limping around
Mm,
because I just wanted to keep playing so bad. I was like, I'm not trying to have any injuries slow me down or anything because it's been a while since I got to play like, you know, full season of football. So I just played with that injury. It wasn't playing at 100%, but I still had fun with it. So it was still good. Still cool.
okay,
Central,
gotcha. And then
Ellensburg.
when did you finish up college then? 08, 09,
Nah, 2010, I
2010.
finished
Okay.
finished at
Okay.
Central. Then 2012, I went back to UW to finish up what I had there.
Okay.
So
Okay,
for the
gotcha.
school, so I went back in 2012. So
And so then
got those.
I'm just doing the timeline in my mind from that to 2014 and traveling in Dominican Republic, and then that kind of like sparking the mind of like, let me see what
Mm-hmm.
else is out there. But like, what was that time frame before? What were you doing in the time from 2010 to 2014?
So 2010, like I said, just finishing up at Central, and then finished up Central. Then I started working with my dad in his company. It was
Okay.
a distribution company with Allied Fuel stuff. His company the name was called Allied Fuel. So I was hopped on there with him, learning that side of the business and everything. It's cool. That was another high demanding thing because that was just gasoline, and those guys are just different, you know. You're dealing with like a freaking natural resource and everything. And it's like everything's very like, dealing with the fuel trucks and like, making sure everything's on time, not overfilling, it hazardous product, and just like a lot of stuff. It was fun though. It was fun to learn. So from 2010, from Central to like 2012, I was working with my dad, and then I took a break with him so I could go finish at UW and finished there in 2012, and then went back working with my dad in 2013 pretty much, and then did that for a couple more years, but then I wanted to stop because it wasn't really fulfilling when I was, working with him was intense by itself, and the job alone was also intense just because you're dealing with all this stuff and then all this assurance. I was like, all right, I started to get a feeling for I want to go help teach. So I went to go teach in Franklin High School from 2014, 15, yeah, 15, yeah, 14, 2014. Went to history.
Okay. Oh, so you are a history guy, huh? You really are.
Yeah,
a history guy.
It's history. It's cool doing that. It was pretty much. I didn't have my own classroom or anything. It was more of like an assistant role thing during the time, but it was good. I liked it a lot, and then I wanted to first thing I was thinking about, as I was doing Franklin and help coaching there too, a little football there. And then by the time we got to 2018, that's when I was 2017 was like the first year I think I went to. No, 2016 was the first year I ended up going to Thailand visiting.
Okay.
So during that spring break, that's a benefit of school districts to get those little holiday breaks. So during that 1 week spring break, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna, how about this? Let's go to Thailand. So that's what kind of sparked it off. And then I came back and I was like, oh, I gotta go back again. But then wasn't really thinking like, oh, the first time I went out there, I was like, oh yeah, I want to move out here. So it took some time, but it didn't take that long. It took a couple of years. And then 2018 rolled around. I told the school, I'm not coming back. Coming back after the summertime. I'm moving there. Okay.
What was the final kind of straw for your idea of yo, fuck it, I'm gonna try it? What was your thought process? 'Cause for me, going to Portugal the first year to play, I kind of always knew I was gonna play abroad.
Mm-hmm.
And I've told this story on here before, kind of, but essentially I had offers in Germany and some of the better teams that were actually going to pay me a little bit, but I wouldn't have gotten to leave until 6 months away. I was kind of had just graduated, working a crappy job at Bellevue Square actually, and kind of a ending college relationship, that was struggling, and so I kind of was going crazy damn near, and I was just like, yo, I got to get out of this situation. I'm not saying you had something like that, but I just, in my mind, there was a moment where I was like, yo, I got to change something up for me. Did you have a kind of just a moment like that?
Kind of like an epiphany moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I had to, I'm thinking, I mean, at the school, I mean, high school kids, they're intense, growing up. I mean, dealing with those kids, those knuckleheads, man. I mean, especially in this era with the cell phones and stuff, man, it's kind of so I had to kind of but it wasn't really the kids. It was the staff and how the staff kind of intermingle with everybody. Very passive aggressive attitude, just like the Northwest is. I'm sure it's like that at a lot of schools, more so than others. But I think it was just the passive aggressiveness that I got with the staff at the time. A lot of people there are cool, but principal and everything, there's just there's hidden agendas. They have their hidden agenda, especially the public schools. Kind of they're doing certain things so they can get more money from grants and stuff like that. Like putting kids in AP classes. They have no business being in AP classes, but you're trying to get those numbers up so you can get the extra money from state budget or whatever.
Gotcha.
So seeing that happen, and then after 2016, that's when Trump got into office. So you kind of had that going around. Donald Trump's around. You got him as president, and everybody's panicking in school, Seattle, because everybody's pretty liberal in Seattle. So,
yeah,
everybody's kind of overreacting on a lot of stuff. But I mean, some stuff they're reacting rightfully so, but other stuff that's just chillax, man. I mean, we're still in America. It's still a big old country, and I guarantee you Donald Trump is never visiting Seattle, so don't worry about
Yeah.
he has his places where he goes. He ain't come out here to the West Coast, don't worry. Well, he did come to Spokane, I think, but Seattle, no go. That's a no go for sure. So, I mean, it was all kind of like a build up from that, and from that environment to school, and it kind of just growing up and me living by myself, and I was just kind of feeling like, I mean, what else is there for me? I mean, I do want to go further with this school stuff, but I mean, I don't want to just be, I don't know. I felt like I didn't want to be stuck. That's kind of like the one thing I want to feel. If I could do this here in Seattle or here in America, I can do it somewhere else. So, let me try. So I'm like, let me just try it somewhere else, because I mean, here it's cool. I know everything here, but the attitude and environment, I mean, everybody's kind of freaking out before COVID time. So I mean, now, so I'm definitely grateful that I'm not there now.
Hey, hold on, brother. Hold on. You're cutting out. Hold on one second.
Oh yeah.
Hold on one second. That last sentence. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you good.
Okay. Could you just say that last one? You were just kind of up and down. I couldn't hear you. Just talking about, like, if I could do it in America and
Oh yeah.
Seattle, like, I wanted to try the next spot.
Yeah. So like, it's kind of the attitude here is kind of once it's like, just kind of got to the point where I didn't want to feel stuck. I think that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
I didn't want to feel stuck here, and I was like, if I could be stuck here in Seattle, I might as well just try to be stuck somewhere else in a different part of the world. I mean, like, at least it'll be a little different for me to, like, have to learn something different or do something differently, other than just because it got to a kind of like a weird dangerous routine when I was in my home in Seattle. I was like, get up, go to work, come back, eat, maybe go to the gym, come back, watch whatever was on TV for a little bit, and go sleep, and then do the same thing. And then the weekend would come around, and, like, depending on what time of year, obviously football season, I'm like, oh, it's great, go to the bar, deal with these guys. But and it felt like on a personal thing, I also felt like I was kind of, all the close friends that I had in school, in high school, university, like, that time was kind of to start to stretch away from it. People were starting to, be more distant. So I was kind of like, what do I really, I mean, my family, obviously I love my family and everything. And most of them live in Washington. So, but when it comes to, like, really, like, even the family though, outside of my mom, my dad, my grandma, a couple other close cousins, I mean, those guys I didn't really see a lot. I mean, it's not like
Right.
we didn't want to see each other. We all love each other, but it's just like, it kind of just started to, like I said, start to get that distance. So it's kind of like, I don't really, I mean, I love you guys here, and my friends are still here, but I just don't really, I feel like I have not a lot of here for me. And I mean, I can always come back. I mean, it's not like anybody's going to be going away anytime soon or anything. And I can, technology with planes and be, just a hop, skip, and a jump back. So I was like, you know what, man, I mean, everybody's doing their own thing. I'm about to go just do mine. Everybody's kind of separating themselves. And so I was like, I'm going to just separate myself hella far away.
A true separation. Yeah.
True. Like, I'm not trying to be like, not see somebody and and though the reason I'm not seeing them is just because I'm not getting in my car driving 15 minutes across I-90, and it's just that they're not that far away. That's what it was coming down to. It's like, there's really no hostility, no beef with none of my friends. It was just like, people were just kind of growing their families at the time. A lot of people were getting married. Some people were having kids, and I have people that live, like, down the street, almost in Madison Park area, that I play football with. It's one guy named John Coombs. He was a great player at Bellevue. He was living down in Madison with his girl. I mean, I could have been, and I go to a bar right where they live, but it's not like I'm going over to his house and knocking, like, hey, what's up, John? What are you doing? It's like, I mean, I probably could have, but it's like, I didn't really feel like, so, I mean, the only times, so it's pretty much the only times it was, like, really fun for me is during football time. Football season, we go to the bar, drink at the local bar, and mingle with people there. But
after a certain time, you're like, is this it? Is this
is it? Yeah. And it was going on for, like, from 2000, 12 when I moved to my house in the city until like right up to the time till I moved to Thailand. There was like that 4 to 5 years where I'm just kind of like, in that kind of like death loop routine kind of thing. I'm like, it's like, let me catch myself real quick before I keep going further. I mean, this is cool. I'm comfortable. This is nice. I mean, I got my house, job, it's here. I like the area. Weed's legal now, so I can just smoke land.
Exactly.
I think that's probably like a blessing and the curse. That probably what kept me in the routine is the deathly cycle.
Yeah,
So
straight
yeah,
up. I
yeah.
know. As you can see, I've smoked some weed in my life, and I've really cut back in the last year or two, just because, man, I end up like, I mean, I just don't end up doing something I'd want to do more. Like
Yeah,
you get comfortable, which isn't bad. It's sometimes necessary during this lockdown.
yeah.
Shit, it was nice
Yeah.
to just get high for a week, or like it was good to
Yeah.
just chill out. But
Yeah.
like I was wondering too, like getting back to Thailand now, we're coming full circle. Like I know for me out here in Czech Republic, where English isn't great, I know you said there are some expats where you're living. Like, how often are you getting to talk with a native English speaker? Because like this is a thing I've really enjoyed doing the podcast with, because like I don't get it, and like
You don't
I'm
get
sure
it.
like your English almost like gets worse. Like you still can speak it perfectly, but you
Yeah.
start speaking more slowly, and like
Oh yeah.
just because I'm a communicator, I don't want to just talk to hear myself. I mean, I like to hear myself, but I want other people to understand me. So like, how often are you
Sure.
speak with a native English speaker?
Well, I mean, I still see them. Like, there's like a place I have to go to hang out to play pool. It's an Australian bar.
Okay.
The guy's Australian, so
Okay,
they speak
cool.
English. They got their little Aussie accents, which is always fun. But
Yeah.
yeah, when it comes to like, I guess English, when it comes to the American sense, like I rarely see, even before the COVID happened. I mean, I rarely saw a lot of Americans out here. I'll see them like once, blue moon kind of thing. But now that it's like COVID time, I don't really see. Well,
But
I know where they're all at. They're all training and stuff at Muay Thai gyms. But yeah, I don't really speak to anybody with the American accent.
yeah, no, I mean, and this sounds bad that like when I'm traveling and when I'm out, like if I'm staying at a hostel or something and I hear, the typical tourist bro come through the hostel
Oh
about,
yeah,
hey, we're going, cataloging every place he's been, and this, just doing them like, oh, let me pretend I'm Swedish, let me, I don't want us to, I don't want us to like this, like I'll tell it, because I don't know, like part of me was just personally like, you know, like we said in the beginning, or like I said, I'm out of the US for kind of a reason, like it's not like I'm anti-American or anything, but like I necessarily I don't want to have that bro conversation that would be at every bar you go to in Seattle or, wherever you are.
Man, yeah, especially in Seattle and like the whole university area, all that shit too. Growing up, the bro stuff and the fraternities. Oh my god. Yeah, I'm definitely appreciative. I mean, it's always good to hear. Like, I'm like, I could tell if somebody's American,
Yep.
they're speaking English here. Because now I've heard so many versions of English too. Because you have the British, and like I said, the Australians out here, and people from New Zealand. So you hear they have, even with the English you do hear, it has an accent to it, and sometimes they do different phrases and words too. So it makes it a little different. But yeah, so when somebody opens their mouth, I know they're out here from America. You can have fun with that. Call where they're from too. Sometimes, unless they're from the West Coast, and we kind of blend in with each other with how we speak. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm happy. Well, in the beginning, I was happy when I first came out here. Like the first couple of times, I was like, hey, I really don't see too many Americans. This is cool, man. I don't have to worry about, I feel like extra special. The only American too around here too. Like American, American is exotic now. We in the States, like, oh, you from Thailand? That's exotic. Oh, you from Brazil? That's exotic. Like, no, I'm in Thailand. I'm the exotic one now, motherfucker. And I'm black too. Oh yeah, you guys are. They're used to black people. It's surprising they're used to black people out here because they have a lot of French black people that come to Thailand and that have families like that. And even people from Africa, the Africans come out here try to hustle and stuff. So they approach them differently. But Black American, they're like, oh yeah, okay.
Oh,
You guys, you come a long way, so you got something going on with you. You know, they know they're already on it. The Thai word for tourist means like money pot, like if you
money.
translate it. It's like money gold or something gold tour, like the Thai word for tourist. It's hilarious.
Do you experience any like racism type of shit, or like is there, how is that in comparison with anything
You know,
back
it is
home
funny.
or
No, it's funny to see the Aussies or the English guys complain about police doing the little shakedowns on them and stuff. They're like, I just don't understand. They're out here. They call me Fodong and all that. I was like, oh, you know. And, I mean, I just look at them like, yeah, well, you know, I can tell you a little something about that. You know, for me, I mean, it's like kind of like, I mean, they shake me down too. The Thai police, they don't. If you're foreign and you get to the checkpoints, especially during like certain areas at night,
mm-hmm.
they'll have little checkpoints or little areas they'll post up at because they know people, if they're traveling this far from the bar and stuff, and they're gonna come and see if you have drugs. That's the only really thing they want to see, catch you slipping on with like drugs or anything. You know, there's a lot of Russians, like I said, there's a lot of Russians and different type of expats out here. So obviously everybody's, not everybody, but many folks are probably dabbling in like stuff like that. I've always, for some reason, I always know where to find stuff like that. It's just, it's part of how I live. I always trying to find the weed, and obviously weed is attached with other stuff, and you know, they
Yeah,
have
because
their like
weed's pretty illegal
methamphetamines.
there, yeah.
It's illegal, but it's like, I guess like their prostitution's illegal too, but that shit's like a fucking a big business out here too.
Yeah, right,
It's just,
right,
you
right.
just can't get caught. You know, you just can't get caught really with a lot on you trying to travel, or if you are trying to do it, you gotta go to like, they call it any bar that's like a reggae bar. It's like weed, and so they pay obviously under the table to the police to turn a blind eye. But and you can buy weed at the reggae bars. You can get like grams, a few grams of meth there for a good price, and you just got to make sure you're not traveling all the way around Phuket with it. You'll be all right.
Gotcha. And
But
how is it? How good a bud is it? Because
I mean, it's cool. Yeah, I
Seattle's
mean,
the
I'm spoiled. You're spoiled over there.
yeah, for real.
I actually have some oil, some weed oil that I've had for like a year and a half, just because I don't have the cartridge and the pin don't connect with each other. I was like, I had an adapter piece that I had lost, so I got like 4 or 5 oil pins, and I'm just like, can do nothing with them. And I've always tell myself to call my mom or tell somebody to send me one over, but then I just get the weed here, then it's good. It's good enough. I mean, it gets me high, so I just get high, forget.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
Yeah.
it's good enough. But
That's
yeah,
funny.
so
Yeah, when I came out here, I have a little pen, and once the cartridge ran out, it was, you just kind of look at it and you're like, well, I don't know when I'm gonna see that again, you know. And then, but then,
yeah,
ironically, the Italian dude I said I randomly met in the corner store in Barcelona, he owned a dispensary in Barcelona, or like a coffee shop or whatever, because it's like
yeah.
in between legality there. And you know, we were talking, and I said, hey man, you guys have cartridges? And I like brought my pen over to his house one day, and he was like, yep. I was like, I got that. And he's
Yeah.
like,
Oh,
okay,
nice.
cool. And so
Yeah.
I ended up getting a cartridge right before I moved out here, which was like a blessing, because I had to do because of Corvid and because of like passport stuff. Like I took the bus from Barcelona to Paris, which is like 12-13 hour bus ride overnight, and then Paris
Yeah.
to Prague, which is like 14-15 hours. And so
Yeah.
like if I got to sleep, and I mean, you know, the pen doesn't really smell. I was on the upper top,
Yeah.
you know, the up top of the bus, so no driver,
Yeah,
nothing, and
double
it's
decker.
all dark.
Oh
It's
yeah.
night, and I'm just sitting there like, oh, I need to go back to sleep.
Mm.
You know, and like it worked. It was
Technology
cool
is nice. Yeah. The technology of that shit is beautiful. I
for
remember
real.
the first time I was in I think it was like one of the first times I was coming to Thailand, and we had a layover in Korea, South Korea. And South Korea airports, they got these little smoking room areas.
Okay.
And I was there for like 3-4 hours, and I'm like, and I see people that have pens. Obviously, it's not the weed pen. They have like an e-cigarette. So I'm like, man, I'm about to risk it. I'm about to go up in here because you go in there, it's really well ventilated. They got the vents up and down the room. You go in there, these people are smoking. They're chain smoking. You
Yeah.
go in there and you really don't smell smoke like from people that are just smoking. I'm like, oh, these guys are smoking out here. packs, and I still can't smell it. I was like, they definitely ain't gonna smell this little
Yeah.
cherry flavored pen right here, some shit like that. Something to hear my thing, just like looking at them, trying to smell. I was like, oh man, I just got high in the South Korean airport. Let's go,
I've
fucking
done the
bucket
same
list
thing.
right there.
I forget where I was at too, but exact same thing where I was walking by and I saw that exact same smoking room, like the light bulb, goes off and you're like, I got a long ass layover, let me chill.
Yeah.
Let me chill.
Let me chill, man.
That's awesome, bro. Well,
I mean,
hey,
the technology more from the pens.
yeah, and the funny thing, speaking of the pens, is like, because I mean, I was a stoner in high school, major, and all had friends kind of like looking down on me at time. I always could take care of business, and it was always after. I could never play, high or nothing like that. But it was funny in high school, kind of some of the homies that like looked down on me, and like the last couple times I've been back, maybe 2-3 years ago, those same dudes, we go over to somebody's house, watch a game or dinner or whatever, and it's those same dudes that were hating on me, or literally like the pen is like attached to their hand, like they don't like let it go. And I'm like, and I've like came full circle where I'm like, I don't really even smoke that much anymore. And they're like, no, like, are you sure? Here, have a go. I was like, I only need one. I'm good. And they're just sitting there feeling it. And I'm like, you motherfucker, like you judge me so much for this.
Hell yeah, that's such the irony, especially in Washington. I remember growing up in high school, getting in trouble for that shit, and then I remember I got even in Central, almost got in trouble for some weed. They're like trying to give me a ticket or made me go do community service, and I'm like, what? Oh, wait. And then like a year and a half later, they literally legalized it. I'm just like,
yeah, the amount of people and the amount of trouble it's caused people in order now just for the government to make some stupid bread off of it is insane.
Yeah. Funny how life works like that. The hypocrisy.
But wrapping it up, bro, because shit, we're going for a while. What would you, people always kind of ask me how I'm doing what I'm doing, and I never really am able to I'm never really able to give too much advice, because like my gig right now revolves around football. And so like just to the random person who doesn't play, I can't be like, make a europlayers.com profile and play football. And, like you're past that point, but like, you're out here doing it like on your own, solo, like little business teaching. Like, what would you, because I have a feeling, sorry, my questions get real long when I ask them. I set them up.
It's all right, no problem.
I have a feeling with how the U.S. is going right now, there's going to be a lot more people in the next 5 to 10 years that are going to be looking for what's out there, and how to live a life, like you said, see what's out there. Because I know what I'm doing in Seattle. I know I can always come back. Like, what would you give advice to somebody that's like trying to do what you're doing, like to just get started?
I would say, find something that they think they can do, look for those opportunities. They like, some people think like, oh, I can't work out there. How can I work out there? You first got to do a little research. I mean, I would say go visit a place that you're thinking about moving to. You should go visit if you can, if you have the funds to do that. But I would say, look into something that you think you can do in a different country that you might not think you could have. I mean, like, there's so many things out there. I mean, I feel like you have to tell people to get creative with themselves. I'm like, what do you do now? I'm like, I don't know. I deliver packages. I'm like, well, you could come to Thailand. They got this Carry Express here. I mean, you might have to, obviously you got to get familiarize yourself with the area where you're going. But I would just say I think a lot of people don't count themselves as smart as what they think they are. I mean, we all like to go out there and figure stuff out. I mean, you might be a little scary at first, but the language barrier and things like that, but technology translate, you can figure it out. So I would say visit somewhere that you're thinking about moving to. Then just you have to get creative and think of some ideas where it's like, all right, how can I manage some income? And then I feel like that's the biggest thing, because it's like people want to move everywhere if they could, but they're like, how do I make money? How can I How can I eat? How am I going to eat?
Exactly.
So, I mean, just get creative with that idea and not too far because it's different country and language barrier. I mean, you could probably bring something to the table themselves to the country, opening up a shop or doing a business there, and then putting other people on out there. I always thought about bringing the idea of like coaching 7-on-7 football out of Thailand. They have no idea about. I mean, they know football, American football, but they never tried playing like 7-on-7. I feel like that's a great new way of getting people into football because football is not a pick up the ball and go play kind of thing. Like basketball or even baseball. So I think 7-on-7 would be a good introduction. But I think it's up to the individual. You have to go out there with a little light, kind of carry fear with you.
Yep.
And just be creative with yourself. Like, all right, if I can't bring something there, what can I do there? I mean, and once they figure out how to make some money or how to eat, then I feel like their life becomes a little easier. But I feel like fear and then putting yourself in an uncomfortable position to make yourself comfortable. I think you gotta try it. You gotta do it.
Yeah, no,
If that's what you want. If you're trying to be happy, I don't know.
it's for real. No, I think you hit it on the head too. Is like you got to be an individual to also,
Yeah.
and that's I think we're. I said it today is like, man, I love individuals and I'm starting to hate people, like just because of
Yeah.
the group think, and it takes an individual to go do what you're saying with the language barrier, all that stuff. So no, that's cool. I appreciate that. Any final thing on your part you want to just put out there that's been on your mind, or anything you want to get off your chest? Anything?
No, maybe just to continue what you were just asking about, like what would be my advice? I would tell people, I'm like, don't look for. It's hard to give advice because it almost feels like you're trying to teach somebody how to live, and I was like, you can't. I mean, you got to find out how to live for you. Live yourself. I mean, there's so many different ways to live in this world. And I feel like people who want to look like, oh, what is everybody else doing? What are you doing there? What are you doing there? I'm like I could tell you what I'm doing and everything. You could try to copy and mimic it, but I mean, I don't know, if you're just doing it, just trying to sustain and trying to live just to get by. I mean, and you're not living. You got to go out there, do what makes you passionate and happy, whatever that is. Whatever that is,
You're cutting out on me. Hold on.
Advice and I tell you,
On.
like, mm-hmm.
Okay, now you're good. Sorry.
Okay, no, yeah, no worries. But yeah, trying to get advice from somebody to like, or tell them like, oh, how can I do something out there? It's like, well, what do you like to do? I mean, like, for that to happen, I got to know about that person that's asking you, what like to do and all this other stuff, and then he asking you that on the counseling you. I was like, you gotta counsel yourself a little bit and go out there and find yourself. And I think that's like part of the thing I will give advice to everybody. I'm like, go out there, find yourself, look inward first. That's my new thing, man. Look, I'm a big thing of like the ancient philosophy, a lot of these books. Like I like this one book called Ancient Secret of Flower of Life.
Okay.
It talks about ancient geometry and all this other stuff. And
Yeah.
It's just kind of like looking within yourself, and that's how a lot of things are made in the universe. Like if the universe, if they go within, then it expanded out. The Big Bang, all that kind of stuff. So if you look inward in yourself and you're true to yourself and you can find that love for yourself to be able to put that love to everybody else, then the answers become easy because then it just opens up for you. Then you're like, all right, I'd like to do this and this. So maybe I can figure out how to, put it in a business format. I can go out there, then I can live, wherever I choose to be. So that's my new philosophy on life. It's like looking inward, not being judging anybody on the face value till you get to know them. You got to judge them on their merits, not on their face. And kind of just and trying to, before you can place judgment on somebody, place a little love on that person first, and like try to put an inward perspective, try to get what they're feeling. If we don't agree with it, just like, all right, this person hates this type of person. I wonder why. And maybe there's some internal things. So I try to give people more benefit of the doubt than anything nowadays. So That'll be my last. That'll be my last little message I could put out there.
Man, that's beautiful. That's we're gonna have to do it again because once you hit on the universe,
Oh yeah, I'd love to.
you got me wanting to ask some more questions, but I always try and cut it at about hour and a half, too, just because.
Yeah. No, I feel you, man. Yeah.
But
Next time,
now
part
that
two, that we get on
we
it. I got.
say what?
I said part two for sure. We do it again. I got ancient geometry. I got that tatted on the back. I mean, I love that stuff. We can get deep on that.
Hell yeah. No, that's something I'm just kind of starting getting into, and ancient sacred geometry, that kind of stuff, and
Yeah.
that whole thing. So yeah, we got the story. I wanted to get the J.R. Hasty story down right now, and then then we can evolve into the story of everything.
Everything, yeah, right on.
And shit, man. Hopefully, I mean, like I've been telling you, all my money for travel is going towards Asia, and so like my original plan was I was going to be in Asia right now. Like this at this time of how it was going to all work, but and so man, shit, maybe. I'm hoping by my season in Finland will be over mid-September, so I'm hoping by next time this year I'll be out there, and I got some homies in Bangkok and Koh Kret that I made, but now I want to travel. I mean, I've heard about Phuket, and so now I got the connection out there. So hopefully, whether it's part 2 or part 3, we can just do it in person.
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be better. Again, person goes better. Heck yeah, man. Hopefully that comes down. We get these vaccines or whatever. Get this stuff calmed down so we can travel some more. So yeah, I'd love to do that.
For sure, brother. Well, thank you. I appreciate you coming on. Appreciate you giving me your time, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, brother. Talk soon.
Alrighty, take it easy. Much love, bro.
Peace.
Living for a living, baby. How you doing?